may I reaffirm our commitment to supporting you through mentorship programs. You know, we run open programs for you. We are starting a foundation for the Institute as well that will develop accountants and finance professionals who are responsive to the market. Please keep watch out to those, and professional development and a regulatory environment that fosters both innovation and integrity. So together, let us shape a financial future that is inclusive, sustainable, and anchored in trust. And thank you very much for your journey. Thank you very much, and may your journey in finance be one of purpose, excellence, and lasting impact. And just in case you'd like to reach out to me.
Further on. But just a little bit about the CRB, specifically Metropole CRB. Number one, CRB is your friend. How many agree? Let me hear what you're saying. It keeps you on check. So it's a good accountability partner, according to her. Who else feels that CRB is the enemy? CRB inanipimia hewa, inafanya nishindwe kupata loan, si ndio? In a nutshell, because I want to be very brief, CRB is an institution that receives credit information from banks, microfinance banks, digital credit providers, SACCOs, trade institutions, among others. The key word is we receive. So, kama umechukua Fuliza, umechukua Mshwari, your information is sent to the bureau. When we are asking for a loan, you remember something called TNCs? Sindio? Si mnasikizana? Na mnasema installment amount this much, every month, every week, as agreed. Sindio? And then you take your left hand or right hand, depending which is your dominant hand, and you put your what? Sindio? So where does the CRB come in becoming an enemy when you fail to pay as agreed and the credit provider tells CRB, what's your good name? Helen. Say Helen took a loan, she has repaid 2 installments, she has stopped paying. What we give is what I would like to call a financial report card. Quickly, an example that brings this home. In school, all the performance of your subjects are sent to the class teacher, true? I don't know, the people who are being awarded certificates, they must have excelled at something, right? Let's call them A. They got an A in maths, another one got a D in English, CRE, and so forth. That performance is consolidated and sent to the class teacher. The class teacher gives you position in class and your overall grades, indio? A, B, whatever, isn't it? So, who has ever gone to fight with their class teacher that I got a 40% in Kiswahili? Kuna mtu amewahi enda kupigana na class teacher ati nime score 60 in maths and I am material of 90%. Iko? Hakuna, si ndio? Sasa CRB ni class teacher. So your performance at KCB, if you have a loan and you have scored a D, and they come and tell the CRB you have scored a D, and then at the SACCO you have scored an A, we take that, we give you what we call a credit score in our context. Are we together? So if you have a good credit score, it is because of your A and your B's, and mostly A's and B's. Are we together? If you have a poor credit score, just like in the classroom context, it's because you are scoring D's and E's. At one point I used to hear E's are called excellent. I don't know. Tuko pamoja? So very briefly, sisi kama CRB ni rafiki, sisi ni class teacher. We give you your report and we do not edit or embellish. If you have a good credit score, just like the class teacher will say you are an A student, that is what we give. So what happens then? When you are seeking credit elsewhere, si hata ukitoka secondary school, pia you look for a university, si ndio? Or if you are coming from primary school, kuna wale wanafikisha threshold ya Alliance, wengine wanafikisha threshold ya other schools, si ndio? So when a lender is assessing Helen has said, I want $500,000 and so forth. What do they look at? They ask for the report card. Just like the Alliance Secretariat will say, wacha tuone performance yake kule shuleni. So they will ping the bureau. We will give them Helen's credit report. And then they will determine what kind of relationship they want to have with you. Is it not 500, maybe 200, right? Or not entirely any credit, isn't it? Or some credit with some very stringent terms and conditions. Tuko pamoja? So as I wind up, because we'll interact later, the CRB, licensed and regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya, does not cause anyone not to get a loan. We provide your information to lenders who you have requested for a loan. CRB receives positive and negative. Remember, people, you had blacklisting, that people just imagine I'll only be in the CRB if I have defaulted. No, even the A students, isn't it? Right now, if I asked everybody, fuliza limit yako ni ngapi na wewe. Kuna wengine wako na single digits na wengine wako na double digits, ndio? Maybe my CEO has a limit of over 50,000 because he has very good credit behavior, si ndio? Na kuna mwingine hata hajafikisha 5,000. Why? Because it is your patterns, si ndio? You know, we say your reputation precedes you, si ndio? I want to believe Metropole, our reputation is the one that came first to Kenya University, our reputation. Ikasema, these people are worthy to stand in front of our students. Tuko pamoja? Or are worthy to partner with, are worthy to come for such a forum. So just in credit, your good performance is the one that will open doors very easily for you. There are some people who right now, if they wanted KCB and M-Pesa, they get it immediately. There are others, you will struggle. So all of this, start early. You've already started. Kila mtu si amewahi chukua kafuliza ka M-Shwari, Tala branch, Zenka. Show of hands. I'm not going to check your credit report. I won't. Mbona tuko na uoga? You don't double in credit. How many have taken? Show of hands. Yeah, that's okay. So that history starts already building a profile for you. And your previous performance is the one that will open doors going forward. Thank you very much. We'll get to interact later.
Situshaje CRB ni nini? Prepare your questions. We'll get to answer them in the next session. At this juncture,
systems remain stable and inclusive. Now, from the perspective of ISPAC, our responsibility is to ensure that as innovation accelerates, ethics, accountability, and public trust sponsored all CPA and everything. So I'm saying this story because don't sit somewhere and say, I have no one to help me. No, God is there. And do what you can do the best way and move forward. Help is just around the corner. Are you together? Are we together? Yeah. Yes.
Money from nothing. They have a printer, they can just print. True or false? How many of us think it is wrong what I've said? That central banks cannot print. So everybody agrees. Central banks print money from nothing. But they are cautious because what happens if everybody in this room is given today 1 million? What will happen? What will be the cost of bread outside? Huh? Do we know what happened in Zimbabwe around 2008? They had a note for 150 trillion. So central banks are cautious. They don't print too much. Now we have another entity that prints money, and they're called commercial banks. And this is a cheat sheet I want to tell you. Commercial banks or banking, commercial banking globally operates something called fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve means when you go to the bank and you deposit 100 shillings, let's assume it's the first day Kenya has the first bank, and the first depositor goes with 100 and deposits 100. How much money will be in that bank in the evening? 100, right? I assume day 2, another person B walks in and tries to borrow money. How much money do you think that bank will be able to give that person? Yes? 90 shillings, correct. So now I'm teaching what you already know, and so forth. So at the end of, in the evening of that day 2, how much money will be in that bank? Assuming nobody has withdrawn anything yet. They have borrowed, but ameenda nyumbani amesmile. Now he can go and look for whatever he wants to buy. How much money will be in the bank the next day? How much? 190, okay. And then day 3, another person goes and says, I want to import money, I want to import an equipment from China. Please, I need a loan. How much money do you think the bank can give that person? Yes? Around 180. So what will be the total money in day 3? 100 plus 90 plus 80. Now, the truth about the market is that the amount of money in cash is very little. A lot of money is created through credit by commercial banks. Now, so what happens if you don't know how to leverage credit? What happens if you lock yourself out of the credit market as a finance professional and you want to start a business? Bernard says some of you would want to build a financial technology platform for Africa. It will take you ages to save the money to be able to do that. To be able to do it faster, what do you need? Credit. So if you lock yourself out of the credit, what happens? You will not have gone through KU and learned finance. You will not be a finance professional. If you will fail to access capital that is created through credit. So that's a very important point. I have finished on finance. Now let me go to labor market. I want to just mention 4 significant announcements in the past 2 weeks. There was announcements by, actually 3 weeks, MPC. We know CBK is MPC, Monetary Policy Committee. Who knows what they announced? That they're retaining the policy rate, even with the incoming inflation. And they are saying the economy is doing very well. Why is the economy doing very well? It goes back to what I said earlier, factors of production. The reward on factors of production, capital is getting a lot of reward, but that at micro level, some people are saying hakuna pesa. But at the economy level, they are reporting 5%. We know what is GDP. They are reporting 5% GDP. Do you think it's a false number or a true number? How many of us think what KNBS is reporting as GDP is wrong? Nani anasema hii economy is not doing very well. It's not doing 5%. How many of us? Yes, anasema it's not doing well. But the reality in the numbers, because GDP is calculated using 3 methodologies. How many of us know how you calculate GDP? There's expenditure approach. Okay? There's an income approach. And then there's a production approach. All of them give the same number. The problem is, these figures, when you allocate those incomes and you give the returns, they go more to which side? Capital or labor? They go to which side more? Capital. So we are together there. So MPC, keeping the rate, the economy, according to macros, is doing well. Number 2, there was another announcement by KUTV. Who knows what KUTV advocates for? Do you know what's KUTV? Central Union of Trade Unions. So all trade unions, who are in trade unions? Is it capital or labor? Labor. What are they asking for on 1st of May, this Friday? They are saying they want minimum 23% salary increments for those people who are living on the statutory minimum. 2 days later, another group issued a press conference warning. They're called FKE. FKE, who knows FKE? Federation of Employers. Who does it represent? Capital or labor? Capital or labor? FKE represents labor. Who owns companies? Labor or capital? So the capital owners have issued a press conference. So I want us to see things separately. Central Bank is saying the economy is doing well. They have kept money supply. They have a policy, they are the institution responsible for managing the currency, money supply. They have said, we are doing well, we are not changing rate, the economy is steady. But there are two people here fighting. FKE, which is, when you buy shares in a company, in Safaricom, where are you supposed to sit? On the employee side or on the FKE side? On the FKE side. Are we together? I had somebody here, if they got some money, his first salary ataweka kwa shares. So you will shift, you will become loyal. So let me just by a show of hands, who supports KUTV? That we need to increase minimum 23%. Only few. Who supports FKE? That they want government not to increase salaries for workers. Who supports? FKE. Yeah. And the rest? Okay? Okay? So this is an important revelation for you. That where we are headed, the competition between labor and finance, capital is going to get stiff. And therefore you have to choose the side. And how do you choose the side? You are the finance professional. You have the right advantage. You have the skills. Please ensure that you choose the right of leveraging your skills to move towards more capital, managing capital. Even at personal level, secure your capital so that capital can work for you. Let the money work for you. Don't rush into consumption. If you are running enterprises, please secure cash for your organization, secure working capital. Because almost all, it said 85% of mortalities of businesses is not because of the concept, it's not because of the product, the domain knowledge. It's not because the engineer who is running that business does not know how to fabricate the thing. The issue is working capital. Businesses die because of working capital. They die because of finance. They are unable to manage finance, and finance is where we have a lot of productivity boosting, efficiencies. You buy technology with money. You introduce AI with money. So again, the real problem that we face in the market today is that some people, from a game theory perspective, know how to play the game very well. Now, if you are playing like football, umeenda America, umeona kiwanja imeandikwa football, you play. For you, it's just kicking the ball. But these people can kick, can throw, can jump. Will you win against them? No. So you have to understand the rules of the game, the rules of engagement. And those rules of engagement today are shifting. One is that there's a lot of automation. Who does automation eat from? Capital or labor? Labor. Automation reduces number of workers. If we set up CCTVs in KU, there's a very high chance we will not need a lot of security guards. If we set up biometrics and time and attendance, there's a very high, a lot of admin staff will go. If you set up AI agents, and this is a new wave, we are talking about 18 months, at Metropole, we are onboarding AI agents. We have an AI strategy to say every worker will now use AI. Now, once you have AI, it means a marketing department with 20 people, now you will only need 1 or 2 people. It means finance department with 20 people will now need only 1 person. It means HR, in terms of long listing, short listing, where you have 20 people, you will only need 2 people, and so forth. Once you have AI simplifying work and doing work for you, who suffers? Labor or capital? Who benefits? So we will now start saying the economy has grown by 10%, but on the other side, people don't have money, because the people who will benefit from that growth are who? The owners of capital. Now, finally, I was asked to talk about fintech. There are 5 major developments on the fintech regulatory space. There is the Virtual Assets Service Providers Act. How many of us, we said crypto, but then now governments are adopting virtual assets that are linked to their currencies, because governments have to control. There are things governments are established to do. Nation states, from the first time they were established in the days of I think, is it Roman Empire or is it French Revolution? The nation state if you are a president, or if you are a government, or if you are a king, you need only two things. You need to control money, and what else? Violence, war. There are two things you need to control. Vitu ngapi? Mbili. Now, virtual assets, securitization is governments cannot give up the role of controlling money, because money sits on trust, and an economy will collapse. If a country fights another one, the best way to fight it is to mess up their country so that people can go on streets and overthrow that government. So governments want to control that. So there's a Virtual Assets Providers Act. Please check on it. There's DCP's regulation. This is fintechs who are using technology to disburse credit or even to mobilize. Around that, there's been a lot of regulations around the Banking Act. Today, we are pushing at CRB changes in the CRB regulations. KBA, I don't know if there's someone from KBA, they're pushing for repeal of a Section 44 in the Banking Act, which still allows Treasury to set, you need Treasury approval to increase interest rates. And yet, today, CBK is, after 2010 Constitution, CBK is autonomous. So there's regulations there that you need as professionals to familiarize yourself with. Again, data protection. Data Protection Act is a very important legislation, and we expect some AI legislations to come. Data protection is important because every digital or financial transaction generates data, and some of that data is private data that needs to be secured. So there are risks there. National payment services. So the M-Pesas of this world, the visas of this world, legislation around that, very important for you finance professionals to analyze, because they give you opportunity to innovate. You are the people to innovate. And then anti-money laundering. So there are controls around use of financial system to perpetuate crime, to clean up money. So those are areas that from a financial fintech space you have to look at. Now, what are the driving frameworks around legislations? We all know governments have a social contracts. We surrender our power to government. Now, if we only allow entrepreneurs and businesses to trade with us without supervision, they can mess us up. So there are issues around consumer protection. So overarching basis for regulations has always been consumer protection. Number two is safeguarding financial system. The financial system, as I said, over 90% of the money that is flowing is non-existent. If you deposited 10 million in your bank account, that money does not actually exist. If there is something called a run on a bank, the only amount you will get is 250,000, or what the KDIC safeguards. So a lot of the financial system is us trusting each other. So overarching basis for regulation is consumer protection against predatory, revenue maximizers, profit maximizers, which is what most entrepreneurs would do. Most entrepreneurs, including yourself, if you had an opportunity, you will maximize. So government comes in to make sure that you don't maximize. Number two is financial system, which relies on trust. So that's the fundamental basis for why we need regulations. Because if we mess up, the whole thing will collapse. Lastly is sovereignty. So those are the things that governments are trying to do in terms of regulation. So in terms of the future of work, or your future as a worker, your future careers, what are the top things you need to think about? Number one is you have to figure out what industries have the highest potential to make you money. Because money is currency for life. It's almost like currency for life. You can buy comfort with money. Some people say, I've seen a lot of memes that somebody kneeling down and telling money that I'm sorry if I'm the one who said money cannot make you happy. Saying I am sorry, I did not mean it. Because without money you cannot move. Without money you can't go to hospital, you can't clothe. So choose to follow pathways, career pathways, industries that have potential to make money. If you want us to advise you on that, you talk to the team that have come. Because we have data at CRB. We have data based on credit performance. One of the signals of an industry that is not performing is when you aggregate the data, you can see players in that industry, are they able to pay their loans? If they're not able to pay their loans as aggregate, it means they have an income problem. So if you come to the Bureau, we can tell you what are the NPL rates for loans given to real estate, for loans given to agri, for loans given, and most people don't go outside 2 standard deviations of their peers, of their industry performance. I think there's a guy called Michael Porter who did a lot of industry analysis way back. Now, if you look at industry performance, it's a very important thing. So as you choose what to do, kwanza angalia industry, naenda kufanya kazi. Hii iko na potential industry at a career level. That's a cheat sheet I'm giving you. Are we together? How many of us will go to extractive industries like mining or agri? How many of us will go to industries like manufacturing, kutengeneza maji? How many of us will go to logistics like transport? How many of us want to do financial sector services? At least I've converted some people. Yeah, so now please learn how to use AI. AI is like electricity. You resist it at your own peril. AI, when electricity started, some people were resisting it. Wanasema mimi nitaendelea kutumia kuni, I'll continue using coal. AI is like electricity. You just have to figure out what tool you need. Kama unataka kupiga pasi nguo, unaweza tumia electricity. Kama unataka kucheza music, electricity. Kama unataka kupiga picha, electricity. If you want to travel, electricity. So it has a lot of use cases. Please start adopting AI in your day-to-day work. So if you don't remember anything from what I have said, remember that focus on building capital, focus not on fighting capital, but figuring out how to leverage capital for your own productivity.
So the class teacher caned everybody and saying, how can this person come and have been teaching and he beats you? And it was chaotic. I asked, now what is this happening? And the funny bit in a mixed school.
Wise words he has given to us. Ndio, haya factory zetu turembeshe, weka moto, weka power. Nani hana power? Sasa tafute power. Haya, tafuta power, shika. Before you go, FCPA, first we want to award you. Interact with our guest, Biana.
All right, a very good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us this morning right here on KUTV Rise Today, specifically Biashara Tuesday, a show that keeps you informed, updated, and educated on matters business, entrepreneurship, and of course, in leadership. Now, this being June 16th, we quite have a lot in store for you this morning. A lot has been happening in the country since the last time we saw each other. We've had the budget being presented in Parliament. We've had, goons attacking our church who are having a pre-budget discussion. We've had stories of goons in the country. We've had Linda Mwananchi Brigade touring the country. We've had the president defending his movements in and away of the country. We've had several things happening in the country, and as we speak right now, the president is out of the country once again for the G7 summit, and among the only African leaders who are representing Kenya in that summit. So, like he said, he brings goodies with him as he sets foot out of the country. Now, this being a Tuesday, we'll be having discussions and different recordings that will be playing on your screen on matters business to encourage you to become a better entrepreneur. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the stories making headlines this morning. And when I say stories making headlines this morning, I am talking of different newspapers that we are having in the country this morning, and of course those across our borders. To set us off, we'll begin by the Standard, and the Standard are talking of JKIA 375 billion shillings deal and they're saying it is Chivayo. The Standard are talking of something interesting with a picture they're having of President William Ruto having a handshake with Chivayo, and they're calling it a weighty matter. That is quite sarcastic considering the photo that you're having on the front page. Now, the weighty matter is that the government has awarded a stake in the 375 billion Kenyan shillings JK expansion to a farm owned by Zimbabwean businessman Wicknell Chivayo, a familiar face at State House with close ties to President William Ruto, reviving scrutiny of the project months after the collapse of the Adani deal amid public outrage. The new arrangement sees Chivayo-linked interest brought in as partners by the Chinese consortium, a move already raising questions over how he secured a foothold in such a sensitive national project. Critics point to his prior fraud. Kenya is demanding full disclosure of the contract terms and warning against what it calls repeat of the same opacity under a different name. So previously, in the year 2024, we had the Adani deal that raised protests in the country with regards to what was in the contract, and right now we have a different person who is coming on board. Of course, there was competition in securing the tender, and Chivayo won the tender, and this has also raised questions considering that he has been convicted severally in his country. The same thing that we saw with Adani, who was convicted in his country as well for several accusations. The same thing is happening with Chivayo. Now, the Kenyans, Law Society of Kenya, are asking what are the contents of the deal, and is it just that he's close to the government or is it not? We'll be having a discussion about more of that in the newspaper review. And remember that the government will be contributing about 1.3 billion to the project, and then the rest of it will be contributed by Chinese bank, and of course borrowings and grants from different partners of the same. Now, moving on to Daily Nation. The Daily Nation are talking of court orders don't matter to them. And this is the supremacy battle. Cases revive a recent conflict between judiciary and executive. We have different leaders who are listed there. We have the Health Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale battling charges of advancing the US-backed Ebola facility in violation of court orders. We have Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi fighting contempt proceeding for duty-free rice imports that breached a decree. We have Attorney General Dorcas Oduor, who is named in the Ebola facility proceedings over alleged non-compliance with disclosure orders. We also have Defense Principal Secretary Patrick Maruri, who faces contempt claims over delayed payment to 1982 attempted coup torture victims. We also have Forest Principal Secretary Gitonga Mugambi, who is accused of defying court order halting construction of an airstrip in Imenti Forest. We also have the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, who is in trouble after police erected barbed wire barricades to block protesters from the city center. So those are leaders who are highlighted, who defy court orders, who the Daily Nation is saying that court orders don't matter to them. And of course, these are state officials. And also still on the same newspaper, we have a story that really raised questions yesterday of the 2 billion shillings payout for over 1,000 protest victims who are in the country. And remember, the list that is expected to be paid to each victim is 1 million Kenyan shillings. And the president released or is directing that the protest victims are paid. This includes missing persons, abducted persons. It also includes those who lost their lives, those who lost their properties, those who lost their businesses, those who are injured during the protest. So all these are to be compensated in the coming days. And remember, the human rights authorities are saying that this will take the compensation will begin in about a week. But remember, previously we've had discussions or controversies of victims saying that they're unable to register and get compensated for the same accreditation, or the process to get verified is taking quite long. and those who are away from Nairobi are having a problem with the same. So we have for the damages, specific violations like fatal shooting, death in custody, or during demonstrations, a minimum of 2,500,000 plus medical expenses is to be paid. And forced disappearances, a minimum of 1.5 million plus medical expenses. We have severe physical injury, a minimum of 1 million plus medical expenses. We have moderate physical injury, that's a minimum of 500,000 plus medical expenses. We also have arbitrary arrest and detention, a minimum of 50,000 Kenyan shillings. We also have torture, which is a minimum of 2 million Kenyan shillings. Aggravated sexual violence, a minimum of 2 million plus medical expenses. We also have rape, defilement, and sexual assault, 750,000 Kenyan shillings plus medical expense. And loss of businesses, we have 100,000 Kenyan shillings to help the victims rebuild their lives once again. So that is a directive by the president. And remember, the president also said that in as much as this may raise questions, with it sounding like the government admits of enforcing disappearances or using excessive force on its citizens and may lead to ICC case, the president said that he is ready to face all that as long as the victims are compensated. And in diplomacy, they're talking of Israel lifts Ebola ban on travel from Kenya after protest. Remember, 2 days ago, Israeli put a ban on several countries due to the Ebola outbreak, but after appeal, the ban was lifted. More of that story on page 12. And also how Kenyan students beat 210,000 rivals to win global ICT title. So those are stories that are given prominence on the Daily Nation. And of course, moving forward to the Business Daily. The Business Daily are talking of World Bank snubs Kenya emergency loan request. We also have a story on new 10 billion fuel subsidy piles, cash flow pressure on marketers. Those are stories that are given prominence on the Business Daily. And of course, they're also talking of Kenya plans wider ban on shisha import sale, and also KCB Group sacks 60 as it steps up war on fraud. So those are stories that are given prominence on the Business Daily. Now moving forward to the Financial Standard, they are talking of how Mbadi's budget ups cost of doing business. This is a story that we have been talking about for the longest, since the budget making process, the finance bill making process, and right now that is given prominence on the Financial Standard. And they're saying that firms should expect increased costly audit activity, expanded use of third-party data, and enhanced enforcement measures as the taxman seeks to meet its ambitious revenue target. This is in relation to the Finance Bill 2026-2027. The People Daily are talking of Ruto's 2027 playbook, the political power of state funds. Now, this is different projects that the government has been embarking on since it got into office. The People Daily are talking of president who framed himself as a champion for ordinary citizens in 2022 has rolled out a number of money-laden programs that are not only economic tools but also potential assets that could influence voter behavior in coming elections. They're talking of the likes of Nyota, Hustler Fund, and SHA. Those are some of the projects that are mentioned that are likely to weigh or to sway the voter to vote for President William Ruto. Another story is how Farouk Kibet is shaping the political narrative in Western Kenya. The president aide has been in the Western region for the longest time. He's the one leading campaigns for by-elections and all that. So is this a move that he seeks to get the president back to office? So the president's aide, the People Daily is talking of the president aide's maneuvers and moves in the western part of the country ahead of the 2027 election. And also they're saying that MPs raise alarm over rise in missing children cases. This is something that is not new to our newsrooms and has been coming forth on your screens for the longest time. And moving forward, gazeti la Taifa leo anasema kwamba serikali ya muungano wa upinzani wakita kambi magharibi kuwania mamilioni ya kura za ukanda huo mwaka 2027. wanasema Mulembe yapiganiwa. This is from the opposition and of course from the government. Remember, the People Daily are talking of the president aids pitching camp in the western part of the country. We also have Rigathi Gachagua, who is also touring the western part of the country. We have the Tawe movement. We have Mimi Ndio Sifuna Brigade, and all these people are moving across the western part of the country trying to get votes. And wanasema kwamba kivumbi, makundi mawili makuu hasimu katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao, yakiongozwa na Rais Ruto kwa upande mmoja na upinzani, yaamua kupeleka vita magharibi, kila moja likitaka kushawishi wapiga kura na huko waliunge mkono wikendi kisadfa. Makundi hayo yalipiga kampeni kali siku 3. Ni nani atashawishi kura nyingi za Mulembe? This is Western Kenya politics, which is now getting intensely hot. I remember Wetangula said that we may not be the best, but sisi ndio tuko. Is he still pulling the masses? Is he still on the ground? Because remember, he has also embarked on grassroots mobilization, despite being the Speaker of the National Assembly. So who will get the votes of the Mulembe Nation? Vile vile wanazungumzia kwa ukaidi wa serikali sasa wasikitisha. Wanasema kwamba mapuuza ya maagizo ya koti hasa kuhusu misitu imenti na ujenzi wa kituo cha Ebola ya Kera. Vile vile wanasema kwamba Senegal versus France, ni nani mkali? That is in relation to the current ongoing World Cup. Pia wanazungumzia kuwa wahanga wa maandamano kulipwa donge, the same story we've talked about, that is on compensation. And also something to note in relation to the World Cup is that Afueni, France will be tackling Senegal today. That is something that has also been highlighted. And also something for you to note with the fuel prices. Wanasema kwamba Afueni, Iran na Amerika wakiafikiana katika mkataba huo wa amani, mlango bahari wa Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, sasa utafunguliwa. Taarifa kamili katika ukurasa wa 8 wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. Now, those are the dailies that you're having in the country this morning. Moving across our borders, we have in Uganda the Daily Monitor. They're talking of where is the law, and they're saying the abduction of lawyer and former Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago and the murder of others by armed men in military uniform has dealt a body blow to the country's rule of law, casting long shadow and dredging up memories of the dark days in the NRM once claimed to have buried when they marched out of the bush 40 years ago. Still, the stories of abduction are making headlines across our borders, that is in the neighborhood, that is in Uganda. They have given several faces of those who have undergone abduction or injustices occasioned by the government. That has been given prominence on the Daily Monitor, that is across our border in Uganda. Now, gazeti la Mwananchi katika nchi la Tanzania wanasema kwamba wabunge wagusa matobo ya bajeti, still the process, the budget making process. Vilevile wanasema kwamba daladala zaondolewa kiaina njia ya Mbagala kupisha mwendo kasi. And the same story has been talked of. I think it's on the Daily Nation, where they're saying that border borders are being taken out of Nairobi Central Business District to pave way for beautification of the city. The same is ongoing in Tanzania. Vile vile wanasema kwamba simulizi ya Kiza alivyomkwepa Mbowe na kutua kwa Zito. Hiyo ni gazeti la Mwananchi. The new vision is in Uganda, and they're talking of government overhaul, CEO deputies recruitment, something that is still ongoing across our neighbors. So those are the papers that you're having of our neighbors, those who are surrounding us. And finally, gazeti la Zanzibar leo wanasema kwamba Dr. Mwinyi ahimiza wananchi kusaidiana. Now, those are the newspapers that you're having this morning. At this point, I want us to take a look at what is happening on the roads and, of course, the weather situation in different parts of the country, and, of course, that which the Kenya Met Department is telling us. Right. It is exactly 59 minutes, not 59, 54 minutes past 7 a.m. And being a Tuesday, most people are heading to town. And I'm looking at traffic as people head to town in different tributaries leading to Nairobi Central Business District, just as expected, as we always see right here every morning. Those people going to town from Allsops, a little past Allsops, that's around KCA University, all the way to Pangani Interchange, affecting those coming from Kiambu Road. There's quite heavy traffic on that route. Those using the Outer Ring Road, as you head towards Allsops, that's the only place that there is traffic. But also the other side, as you go towards Pipeline, all the way as you join towards the Eastern Bypass, there is also slowdown on the same route. This is affecting those using the Eastern Bypass and coming from Utawala Airport Road all the way joining to Mombasa Road. So if you're using that route, you're going to be staying on that road for quite some time. And those people coming from those side and using Jogoo Road, you're also going to be staying on the road for quite some time. Also those using Kagundo Road, you're going to be staying on the road for quite some time. Something important to note, that today from the Next Gen Mall all the way to Railways, as you get to town, there is slowdown. That is from Next Gen Mall all the way to, Nyayo, kuingia town. If you're joining town through Mombasa Road this morning from those side, you're going to be staying on the road for quite some time. Those people coming from Kule Juu Yaya Center, Lavington, Kilimani, most roads are having traffic. I don't know what is happening, but if you're using those routes, you're going to be staying on the road for quite some time. Kule Junction Mall, wale wanatoka Kule Bomas of Kenya using those routes, you're going to be staying on the road for quite some time. Not forgetting those people coming from Parklands, wale wanatoka Village Market, Kitsuru, you're also going to be staying on the road for quite some time. Of course, this is in patches. The traffic is moving, but slower than we always see on a normal day. So if you're using those routes getting to town, you're going to be staying on the road for quite some time. So you should prepare yourself. And of course, those using the Waiyaki Way, there is heavy traffic this morning as you get through across Mombasa Road or across Nairobi Expressway. You're going to be staying on the road for quite some time. So that is of the traffic update this morning on this 16th day of June 2026. And now onto the weather update this morning. We are looking at different cities or different towns across the country, and to set us off different parts of the country. To set us off, you're going to begin by the coastal part of the country, that is in Mombasa. Right now it is 24 degrees Celsius and it feels like 27 degrees Celsius. Quite the temperatures are quite high, so that it might be drizzling to about at around 10 to 11 a.m. There is precipitation chances of 10 to 11%. Now moving to a different part of the country, we have Homa Bay. Right now it is 20 degrees Celsius. It feels like 24 degrees Celsius. They're expecting highs of 29 degrees Celsius and no sign of precipitation throughout the day. Moving closer to where we are right now, that is in Ruai, 17 degrees Celsius. It feels like 17 degrees Celsius. It is quite chilly this morning, and they're expecting highs of 26 degrees Celsius to around 4 p.m. That is in areas around Ruiru and in areas around Nairobi. Right now it is 16 degrees Celsius and it feels like 16. It will mostly be cloudy with 40% chances of precipitation at around 2 to 4 p.m. and they'll be receiving highs of 25 degrees Celsius. So today in Nairobi, it is going to be quite chilly. So if you can carry yourself something to cover yourself, that will be nice for you. In Kiambu County, it is now 15 degrees Celsius. It feels like it. And it is also quite, it will also be mostly cloudy in Kiambu, and they are expecting highs. The temperatures will be going to highs of 24 degrees Celsius. So if you're in Kiambu also, you might as well consider finding something to cover yourself up, because the temperatures are going to be below 24 degrees Celsius throughout the day. In the western part of the country, Kakamega, right now it is 19 degrees Celsius and it feels like 25 degrees Celsius, quite warm, and it will mostly be sunny in Kakamega County, so you don't need to carry any form of jacket or jumper or umbrellas if you're in Kakamega. So the temperatures are going to be quite higher. And in the northern part of the country, in Isiolo, right now it is 22 degrees Celsius and it feels like 24 degrees Celsius. It will mostly be sunny and they're expecting temperatures to rise up to 31 degrees Celsius. That is around 2 to 3 p.m. The temperatures will be up to around 31 degrees Celsius. And of course, there is no sign of precipitation in that area. And finally, in Kisumu, 20 degrees Celsius and it feels like 24 degrees Celsius. It will partly be sunny. They're expecting temperatures to be rising up to 29 degrees Celsius. That is from 2 to around 5 p.m. Temperatures will be up to 29 degrees Celsius in those parts of the country. And of course, now coming to look at what the Kenya Met Department is telling us of the weather outlook from the 16th, that is today, to the 17th of June, that is today and tomorrow. They're talking of dry conditions are expected across the country with showers mostly over the coast. And they're also saying that intermittent cloudy and cold conditions are expected over some parts of the highlands, east and west of the Rift Valley and the southeastern lowlands. Strong southerly and southeasterly winds above 25 knots expected over parts of Turkana, Marsabit, Garissa, Mandera, Wajir, Isiolo, Makueni, Kitui, and the coastal counties. And remember that they had also given an advisory, early warning of El Nino preparedness, and this is something that the country should be taking a look at that. So last year and the year before last year, we had the same warning given and nothing was done, and we saw several people losing their lives. I hope this time round the government is going to adhere to the early warnings or the preparedness alert that is given by the Kenya Met Department. That is on the weather and of course the traffic update as of 8 a.m. this morning.
Kila safari huanza kwa hatua moja. Bila shaka, dira ya Boresha Kilimo sasa imepata sura mpya. Boresha Kilimo si kipindi tu, bali ni darasa la vitendo kwa wakulima. Lengo kuu, mavuno bora na tija kwa jamii. Na ukikaa nasi basi utaboresha kilimo. Hapa tutakupakulia maarifa atakotia ladha ya kisukari kwenye mazao yako, tukitofautisha punje na mpunga. Kwani kilimo ndicho huboresha maisha. Kuanzia maandalizi ya shamba, mbinu za teknolojia ya kisasa hadi sokoni, usikose kutazama Boresha Kilimo. Ukitaka kujua haya usipime kipimo. Ungana nami na hodha wako Akida Kasim kila siku ya Jumamosi saa 6:30 mchana na Jumanne asubuhi, nikikuletea shajara kamili za wakulima na suluhisho mashinani. Kilimo ni nguzo kubwa kwa ujenzi wa taifa, kwani kilimo ndicho huboresha maisha. Kumbuka, ukipanda pantosha utavuna pankwisha.
We know life gets busy, but your well-being is of great importance. At KUTV's Focus on Health, we cut through the clutter, bringing you expert advice to keep you well informed for your well-being and that of your family. Every Thursday, 7:30 p.m., join me, Yvonne Kemuma, as we bring you health and wellness right at home.
Baada ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu.
Kwa vijana wenzangu, wengi hawana kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili.
Bila woga, watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi. Hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
Welcome back. Now let's get you informed on what is shaping the world of news this morning. And the government is moving to implement a landmark compensation program for victims of human rights abuses. This is after receiving a preparation framework from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, backed by a 2 billion Kenyan shillings allocation. The initiative is expected to provide redress and support to affected individuals and families. Edna Nerea is on that bit this morning.
With the 2 billion shillings, President William Ruto has signaled the start of a new chapter in addressing human rights violations after receiving a reparations report outlining compensation plans for affected victims. With the 2 billion shillings already set aside, payments are expected to commence next week for families affected by protest by losing their loved ones.
President, such a process.
While speaking at State House during the presentation of the framework for reparations for victims of human rights violations, President William Ruto said compensation payments are not a price for life, pain or loss, nor a reward for violence, but a step towards acknowledging suffering, restoring dignity, and promoting justice.
The Kenya shillings 2 billion we have committed cannot replace a son or a daughter. It cannot restore years and lot of trauma. It cannot fully compensate a family, a trader, or a community for all that has been taken away from them. What it does represent is the state's acknowledgement that harm occurred.
The head of state also said the reparations framework should serve as a reminder of the need to uphold human rights and prevent future abuses, urging institutions to strengthen accountability and safeguard citizens' freedoms.
We must protect the right to protest. We must protect life. We must protect property. And we must protect human dignity. And above all, we must remember that before we are protesters, police officers, traders, leaders, or activists, we are Kenyans.
The reparations framework outlines a structured process for documenting, verifying, and addressing claims by victims of human rights violations, with officials saying it aims to provide redress, support recovery efforts, and strengthen access to justice for affected families.
This unprecedented national undertaking marks the first time in Kenya's history that the government has on its own initiative embarked on such a process, one that seeks to formally acknowledge that human rights violations occurred, and this landmark initiative signifies a clear commitment to move the nation from documenting to redressing.
Officials say the reparations framework proposes a permanent national mechanism to handle human rights claims, including a structured legal and administrative system to manage payouts, ensuring continuity beyond the current compensation exercise. The initiative marks a significant shift towards institutionalized justice and accountability as government moves to address human rights violations systematically and transparently. Edna Nerea reporting for KUTV Nairobi.
At the same time, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has come under fire from civil society organizations for reportedly neglecting to take action against lawmakers, county officials, and politicians accused of supporting criminal gangs, rallies, and intimidate at group led by Vocal Africa has called on Interior Cabinet Secretary to speed up the investigation to bring culprits to book.
You are the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, and you know politicians who have gangs of goons. It is weeks now since you made that information public, and you have done absolutely nothing about it. This is the country we are living in, where goons are sent to places of worship. Places of worship are sacrosanct. These are places across the world where people rush to when there is violence, to seek protection, to seek refuge. People rush to churches, people rush to mosques, to temples, where they then would be protected from any violence that is meted out. Here in Kenya, goons are being sent to those same places of worship, which are supposed to be safe for the weak and the vulnerable. Goons are being sent by politicians to go and attack people in places of worship. This cannot be tolerated.
These goons have been used by the state. We have not seen even one arrest so far. And it tells you clearly that there is a hand behind all this, what is going on.
And a former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has begun a 45-day political retreat at his Wamunyoro residence in Nyeri County. This comes days after court upheld his impeachment ruling. Gachagua retreat comes at a crucial time as political realignments intensify ahead of the 2027 general elections. According to Gachagua, the retreat is aimed at strategizing ahead of the general polls set for next year, as Petrofaith now reports.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has withdrawn from active political engagements, opting for what he describes as a period of reflection and consultations at his Wamunyoro residence in Nyeri County, meaning he will not participate in the Ol Kalou parliamentary by-election campaigns set for July 16.
From Monday, I'll come in Wamunyoro village for 45 days to start exhaustive and extensive consultations with my supporters and opinion leaders and stakeholders on the formula of identifying a single presidential candidate to face President William Ruto. You will not see me anywhere in public rallies. I'll be in Wamunyoro.
The development comes shortly after the High Court upheld his impeachment, a decision that reinforced the Senate's move to remove him from office. Gachagua has maintained that he will continue pursuing legal avenues in a bid to challenge the ruling.
My right to fair trial was violated, but then the impeachment cannot be lifted. This is a desperate and false propaganda by those terrified of my candidature. Article 99, Sub-Article 3 of our Constitution provides, in clear and ambiguous terms, that no reason, no person shall be barred from vying as a candidate in any election unless and until all avenues of appeal are exhausted. This erroneous judgment of the bench previously determined by the Court of Appeal have been unlawfully empaneled, has taken nearly 2 years. And that was just the initial stage of the appellate process. I will be vindicated by the Court of Appeal, hopefully, once again, with a further protection at the Supreme Court still in my hand.
Before beginning the retreat, Gachagua joined opposition leaders on a 3-day tour of Western Kenya, During the meetings, he called for the unity of the Mulembe nation and urged the leaders to rally behind a single presidential candidate for the 2027 general elections.
Wewe Musalia ulipata yako, watu ya Vihiga walipata nini? Wewe Wetangula ulipata yako, watu ya Western walipata nini? Watu ya Western mumetumika miaka mingi kama tissue paper. Wakati umefika mkatae kutumika vibaya. Wakati umefika mjikomboe.
The 45-day retreat is expected to end shortly after the Ol Kalau by-elections, setting the stage for Gachagwa's next political move as opposition leaders intensify preparations for the 2027 race. Rajab Juma, KUTV.
Another story was produced by Petra Faith and voiced by Rajab Juma. Now, a few days after announcing his exit from the ruling United Democratic Alliance Party, Murang'a Governor Irungu Kang'ata has taken what many interpret as his biggest political step by attending the Linda Mwananchi rally in Thika Town. However, despite receiving a warm welcome from leaders of the movement, Kang'ata is yet to make it clear whether he has officially joined their camp or not, leaving many guessing his next political move. Ross Kaguku with the full details.
At the Linda Mwananchi rally has sparked a new debate about his role in Mount Kenya politics ahead of the 2027 general election. This comes just days after the influential leader announced his departure from the ruling UDA party.
Historically, over the years, Irungu Kang'ata positions himself early when he senses shifts in political sentiment. So Governor Kang'ata currently governs from a point of strength in Murang'a County. He's not behaving like a politician looking for political survival like other politicians are looking for political survival.
The move, which was seen as a major blow to President William Ruto, once a close political ally of Kang'ata, triggered intense debate, with many interpreting it as the governor's strategy to secure support in the Mount Kenya region, where voting patterns are said to be heavily influenced by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
UDA party, among the reasons it won in 2022 is because of how it was persecuted by Jubilee government. I'm surprised when I see UDA party repeating the same mistake of persecuting people who are then garnering major political sympathy, becoming most popular and popular and popular.
The debate has now taken a new turn after Governor Kang'ata joined Linda Mwananchi leaders during the tour of Thika Town. According to his allies, the move could boost his political influence ahead of the next election, at the Linda Mwananchi movement, led by Edwin Sifuna, is said to be gaining popularity, especially among young people. However, Kang'ata's proposal that Linda Mwananchi leaders should reach out to Gachagua has raised fresh questions about his true political agenda, given that he has yet to declare his party affiliation or the position he intends to contest.
Kang'ata informed the Linda Mwananchi faction to reach out to Gachagua. This means that he is trying to be flexible in that if the opposition forces unite, he is already part of the conversation. If they fragment, he has not tied himself completely to one faction.
Linda Mwananchi leaders appeared to welcome him with open arms, despite not receiving a clear commitment from him that he would become part of their coalition. As Kang'ata continues to emphasize the need for dialogue with other opposition leaders, political analysts suggest that he may be positioning himself as a bridge builder or even a forerunner of a broader political alliance that could reshape the direction of the Mount Kenya politics and the country at large.
Gachagua still commands strong emotional and grassroots support in Mount Kenya, and he needs to consolidate the mountain behind a single political vehicle by ensuring that other opposing powerful independent leaders do not emerge. Remember, one of the strategies that can be used by the government is ensuring that we have different factions that are opposing Gachagua in Mount Kenya so that they don't rally behind one political vehicle.
Rose Kaguku, KUTV.
Thank you, Ross. Now, Kenya is still at a high risk of contracting the Budibogyo Ebola virus, which is now wreaking havoc in parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, killing 141 people so far. Although the nation is regarded as high risk, the Ministry of Health claims that procedures are in place to limit its entry and management. Public Health Principal Secretary, that is Mary Mudhoni, has stressed the need for strict measures to prevent the virus from crossing borders, reiterating the country has not yet registered any Ebola case so far.
For every update on KFIC operations.
So thanks very much, Madam PS. Again, where I would want to stop.
Let's said on WhatsApp, the PS.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for your direct representation and the snippet on Ebola.
That it is under division of environmental health and sanitation. So they have been involved in the integration meetings towards ensuring that we have inputs on issues climate change under that component of the ground cycle 8.
500, it is coming to almost, quite significant sums of money. So we are working on a mechanism where we support the counties to do the validation of themselves and share with us the information in the next 2 weeks. That is something that right now, to ensure that this happens by July, we have been looking at the mechanisms of verifying the CPs across the country, and give them gadgets to ensure that they have tools that work, they have funds that the drugs are replenished. And one of the things that is urgent, looking in the short term, we're also looking at the gadgets that we bought and the kits are getting, they're getting obsolete. So it will take more than 3 years. Our current focus, right, putting additional 7,800 kits that we bought through Global Fund, 9 divisions, and these 9 divisions are responsible for different issues around policies, strategies, guidelines, and techniques for this meeting. Our key responsibility is to deliver United UHC through the primary care approach. Thank you very much.
Our laboratory system continues to be strengthened. We have identified 4 laboratories, and this has been reported. Over time, we have the National Public Health Laboratory where the testing takes place, but the Kemri, Nairobi, and Kisumu continue to support testing. And we have also deployed a mobile laboratory in Busia. As of 13th was on Saturday. We had in DRC 689 confirmed cases, and the deaths among the confirmed cases were 139. The case fatality being 20%. The healthcare workers that have been infected in DRC, the number now stands at 19. For Uganda, total confirmed cases 19. Deaths amongst the confirmed cases 2. Then case fatality rate 10.5, and health worker infection at 3.
And we must ensure that the mapped up surge staff are ready for immediate deployment to continue to support the in-person trainings in the high-risk counties like Busia, Turkana, Trans Nzoia, and many other places, including Nairobi and Mombasa.
Nathan Ogechi has called for increased funding for research and innovation to address emerging global health challenges. Speaking at the 3rd International Multidisciplinary Conference, Nathan noted that emerging and mutating diseases such as Ebola require significant investment in research. He emphasized the need for collaboration between research institutions and universities, as well as investment in laboratory equipment, researchers, and infrastructure, commending the government for establishing a State Department for Research and engaging various global stakeholders.
Collaboratively and in a partnering manner, it is possible to get our partners within the country, across universities, and even outside. That does not mean that there are no challenges, particularly when you are dealing with the equipment for research, especially in the natural sciences, where you need labs, where you need serious reagents. If you don't have good labs, it is possible to do research and come up with findings that are not doing well.
County are demanding urgent government intervention over the increasing cases of human-wildlife conflict, and as Yvonne Shashaweri reports, residents have reached breaking point after years of elephant invasions, calling on Kenya Wildlife Service to construct boundaries and stop the human-wildlife conflicts.
Frustration is growing among residents of Bama, Kilifi County as elephants continue to stray into farms and homesteads, destroying crops, properties, and in some cases claiming human lives. The problem, which locals say has persisted for years, has left many families counting losses, living in fear as they struggle to protect their farms and livelihoods. Speaking in Datani village, Kilifi Senator and Senate Minority Leader Stewart Manzayo accused relevant authority of failing to address the crisis, saying communities have been forced to endure repeated attacks without adequate protection.
Ndovu si bora kuliko Mijikenda ndani hapa Kilifi County. Na ikiwa hawa watu wa serikali hawawezi kulinda ndovu wao huko, nyinyi nitakuja kuambia halali maha, chukueni tuue hawa ndovu wao. Hawatatufaa, manake wanakuja hapa, wewe umetengeza shamba yako ya eka karibu 10, ya eka 5, ya eka 3, umepata mahindi yako vizuri.
Stewart said many farmers have been driven into poverty after losing their harvest to elephants, adding that some households now depend on relief food due to continued destruction.
Umetengeneza ardhi yako, ni haki gani ama ni sheria gani ndovu wanaweza kutoka huko walikotoka, hawazuiliwi na serikali, wanaingia mpaka wanafika hapa karibu na Datani, wanakula mashamba ya watu, wanakula mahindi ya watu. Alafu hawa watu wategemee nani? Msolo? Wategemee nani? Kurehero chakula ya serikali? Hatutakubali sisi kabisa. Hatutakubali sisi na hatutaogopa mtu yoyote. Hakuna kuogopana, ni kuheshimiana.
Residents say they had hoped for a long-lasting solution following President William Ruto's directive on Shirango Conservancy, but claim the situation has since worsened with increasing elephant invasion threatening livelihoods.
Haya mambo ya ndovu ilikuwa imefika pahala ambapo kweli alikuwa anamhitaji rais. Kulikuwa na mkutano Midoina, kukawa na viongozi wakaja hapa Datani, hata wakamulani waziri Miano afutwe kazi, kizungumkuti kaendelea mpaka tuliona kwa mapicha kwamba hata wameenda kwa waziri Miano, kumekuwa na sarakasi nyingi, lakini juzi rais akatangaza kwamba ile Shirango Conservancy iwe deregistered.
The government says it's working with the Kenya Wildlife Service to address the human-wildlife conflict in Bama by establishing a response team, while residents, however, want faster action, including protection of farms, compensation for losses, and a permanent solution to the elephant invasion. Yvonne Shirisha, KUTV.
Now, Mombasa County continues to establish itself as a hub for business tourism, conferences and exhibitions in Africa as private investors expand modern conference infrastructure to tap into the rapidly growing MICE tourism market. This comes as the city prepares to host the 11th Ocean Conference, the first to be held in African soil. Listen in.
Older people are getting their cash transfer every month. And because sometimes they don't know how to save their PIN, and also that they trust their younger grandchildren or their children who are younger or even older, their financial rights are being abused, because sometimes they will tell the younger to get the money for them, or even
Apologies for that. We played a different or a wrong story for that matter. Now, moving on, elderly people in Kiambu County have expressed concern about the growing number of abuse, neglect, and social isolation instances, claiming that many are suffering in silence while adjusting to the challenging socioeconomic challenges. Samuel Mwengo, an elderly person speaking at an elder abuse awareness walk in Thika, stated that many elderly people have been abandoned by family members who moved to cities in pursuit of work, leaving them to battle hunger, illness, and loneliness without proper support. While Health Organization Ambassador for Africa's Elderly, Michael Kinyingi, is now calling for more robust policies to shield senior citizens from discrimination, abuse, and neglect.
save their PIN, and also older people are getting their cash transfer every month. And because sometimes they don't know how to save their PIN, and also that they trust their younger grandchildren or their children who are younger or even older, their financial rights are being abused, because sometimes they will tell the younger to get the money for them, or even to put the PIN. And because the PIN is not supposed to be told to everyone, they tell another person, and that way the children may even take the phone and actually borrow from Mshwari and all the other loan platforms. Older person who gets 2,000 shillings stipend, and who are very few. Some don't get anything. They do not have an income. They are expected to pay share. Where do they get their money? There should be a way of developing a card for older people.
Sasa tunashindwa tutakaa wapi na tuko dunia gani? Hii Kenya yetu iko namna gani? Ile nimeona mingi ni ya kutukanwa. Unatukanwa na vijana hawa wadogo na bila sababu. Unasikia tu mtu anakutana na wewe unaambiwa wewe mzee kubabu unafanya nini hapa duniani? Haya, umelima, umepanda avocado, umepanda avocado na kadania na kahawa tuko naye, lakini huwezi lia hiyo kitu, huwezi kula.
Labda kama vile mnasema ati uzee sio ugonjwa, lakini kwa njia nyingine ni ugonjwa. Ikiwa huwezi fanya kazi, huwezi sema ati hiyo si ugonjwa. Hiyo ni miguu, huwezi tembea, kazi yote ya shamba huwezi fanya.
Now in sports, young people in Malindi Sub-County, Kilifi County have begun to embrace boxing as a sport. The youth are now pleading with the county and national government to provide infrastructure that will promote the sport and turn it into an engaging activity for young people. The Kenya Boxing Federation, KFB, and other stakeholders have already started monthly competitions with the goal of promoting boxing in the region, attracting as many young people as possible and keeping them away from drug abuse and criminal activity.
Vijana wengi wamekuwa na changamoto sana, so kuna rafiki yangu ambaye tumekuwa tunatrenisha sote, anaitwa Kelvin Toya, pia tumekuja pamoja tukakaa tukasema kuna changamoto vijana wetu ambao wako mitaani, vijana wanaitwa mawoza. Tukasema basi mbona tusiwalete pamoja, na ni njia gani ambayo tutawaleta pamoja? So tukasema lazima tuhamasishe vijana wavae gloves, waingie ulingoni, wapigane, wajitafutie maisha, kwa sababu boxing sasa imekuwa ni ajira. Mimi vision yangu ni kuchange vijana wabadilike na uache ile kwa mtu akiongea anasema vijana wamefanya hili, kila baya atakalokuja ni vijana.
Na boxing sana sana ina nini sana kwa discipline, kwa mambo ya discipline. So nafikiri we still have a mountain to do about boxing kwa Kilifi County. Nafikiri county government na serikali, haswa serikali kuu, inafaa ifikirie kitu kuhusu boxing. In fact kuna motion Edwin Sifuna litable kwa parliament kuhusu county government. Zile nini devolution sports ikuwe devolve kwa county, zile funds zikuwe specifically kwa sports. So tunangojea kama itaona the light of the day, nafikiri itakuwa ni mwamko mpya.
Na tuko na vipaji na kuna vijana, kuna moral sana, na vijana wengi huku utasikia kuna cases za wizi, maoza, ni vinywa kwa idol. Lakini through boxing I believe vijana watajitoa huko katika au mabalaa.
Now that brings us to the end of our news update this morning. We will be taking a very short break. When we party leader who is a presidential hopeful and believes that he has what it takes to take Kenya to the next level and to unseat President William Ruto. Stay tuned for that after the break.
Miti miti, panda panda, miti miti. Our planet's future is in our hands. However, there is a threat to the brightness of this tomorrow. On Earthcheck, we share the challenges, the solutions, and the hope.
I would call this a very momentous day, a very critical day.
Every episode, every story, every step we take creates a ripple. Join me, the environmentalist Emmanuel Kutosi, on KUTV every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and be part of Earthcheck. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mkwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu mwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia.
They find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated.
Inclusive setups.
By providing the right facilities.
All right, welcome back. And like we promised earlier, we have the Kenya's LDP party leader, Fred Ogolla, who thinks he has the muscle to unseat President William Ruto in the 2027 general election as a presidential candidate. He believes his manifestos are right and of right priority to the Kenyan citizens, addressing every problem that we have mentioned of. The interview is coming up, and of course, what he has to say of his presidency if he is elected in office.
To talk to KUTV. Now first, from academia to activism, now politics. What makes you think you're the best man for the job?
First of all, I'm not just ready by vision. I'm also ready by heart, but also by profession. You talked about my continuum. From class, research shows the most trusted people in the world are teachers. So between teachers and politicians, whom do you trust? And we're talking about trust. You've seen me in class. You've seen me on the streets in activism. You've also seen me in court advocating for what Kenyans want. But now we don't end at advocacy. Now we need leadership. And by this, I have done certain things to show that I can actually do that. There's what we call manifestation. I've manifested with the trust in classroom, with the trust in the streets, trust in the courts, but also being an economist. Many Kenyans may not know that during the global financial crisis, their son was picked by European Central Bank to go and turn around Greece when it was sinking, turn around Italy, turn around Spain, turn around Portugal. And it is my economic medicine that treated the global financial crisis in the south of Europe. And that's why in Europe, European Central Bank, they rate me as one of the most decorated economists, not by writing, not by talking, but a hard-nosed economist who turned around the pigs. Pigs is P, Portugal, I, Italy, I, Ireland, G, Greece, and Spain. Tell me of any other person whom we are thinking can be alternative, whether they have turned around an economy of any country, any county, any sub-county, any ward, or just any village. But this is your son, the son of Kenya, Kenyan made, the Kenyan project, because I am a Kenyan project. I've gone to Kenyan schools. I've lived in Kenya, grew up in Kibra, grew up in Magongo, Mombasa, and that one has helped the world turn around. Why not do it at home? That's the main question.
And Prof, many people will argue that you lack the political experience, that you have not really earned your place in Kenyan politics. What message do you have for them?
That is a very good question, Evans. Kenya is going through a third liberation. The third liberation is economic, not political. Our fathers fought for independence, so there is no need of fighting independence now. The second liberation was political and democratic liberation. It's being done by our fathers. That is the Railas, that is the Kibakis. You can name those people. But now we are going through economic liberation. And who is the most qualified economist to turn around the economy? Because the Kenyan problem now is not political. The Kenyan problem now is economic. What has made Singapore what it is? They did not choose the most qualified politician, they chose the most qualified economist. And when we are matching the economic problem with economic solution, then who is more qualified? Tell me, look at my other competitors, worthy competitors that is. Look at their background. Look at whether they understand economics. And the Kenyan problem, which is economic, can be solved by an economist. And the leading economist in this country, in Africa, here it is before you, that's Fred Ogola. And I've told you before, it's not something I'm beginning to do experiment with Kenya. I have done it in Europe, more complex economy. Why not Kenya, where I grew up, where I understand it more, even from anthropological point of view? I believe that the most qualified person to run the Kenyan government is not the most qualified politician, because they only give you a political dose. They won't give you economic solution. They'll go back to history. I even ask in Kenya, let us mobilize around an economic solution, because Einstein argues that you can't use the same people or the same tools that has created a problem to solve the problem. But you have to use new tools. So which is the new tool? Which is the new people? And that is why Fred Ogola presents himself to you. And I'm saying, if you appoint me, I will not disappoint you.
And we'll talk about the economy. But in your thinking, what is the biggest challenge facing Kenya right now? What is so wrong about the current leadership that you feel it needs change?
First and foremost, the Kenyan problems are mainly four, and I'll say that they're economic problems. One, we have high debt. Two, we have very high inflation that makes cost of living become unbearable. Three, there's very high interest rate, whereby our interest rate is 24%. China is 2.9%. How do you compete with the Chinese in the global economy when they produce by borrowing at 2.9%, when for you borrow at 24%? The other problem we are talking about is the purchasing power of the Kenyan shilling. 1,000 bob, when we grew up, when a man or a woman walks with 1,000 bob, they felt very strong. How strong do you feel with 1,000 bob in your hands at the moment? It just doesn't work. But all these things compounded by what I call high level of youth unemployment, which is 60% youth unemployment. These problems need to be fixed. And that's what I'm telling you. I, Fred Ogola, is the man with the silver bullet to solve the Kenyan problem with one silver bullet. The current government has 4 problems that, human speaking, no one should have. How can the same man have high debt? The same man have what's called pending bills. The same man is overtaxing people to generate higher revenue. And the same man is selling the Kenyan asset. I equalize this man to a husband who has been added a salary in a place of work. He is borrowing money. He is not paying house help. He's not paying anybody. All suppliers are not being paid. At the same time, he's selling television. He's selling microwave. He's selling sofa sets. How can this man be a man which is reasonable? So that is the kind of leadership we have. Because taxes have been increased, collecting more money. Debt is being increased by borrowing more. The same man is selling Kenya Pipeline. He's selling Safaricom. And the same man has pending bills to all suppliers, whether it's education sector, whether it's health sector. He pays nobody and only pays himself. And lastly, the current head of state lives in a 740-acre piece of land. That's State House, Nairobi. Only. We are not counting the other houses in other countries like Mombasa, Kisumu, and the rest. One State House, Nairobi, is 740 acres of land. While Kenyans are squatters, while Kenyans have no food. White House is 8 acres. How can you move from 740-acre piece of land to go borrow money from somebody who is living in an 8-acre piece of land? It does not add up. So the current leadership don't understand the Kenyan problem. If they do understand, they don't understand the solution. So either they don't understand the problem or the solution or both. But as Fred Ogola, I have done a deep understanding. I grew up in Kibra. We're 11 kids. We slept without food. But education is what brought me here. And I believe that with that understanding of moving from Kibra to where I am, I understand the Kenyan journey of a normal Kenyan human being, a normal Kenyan young youth, a normal Kenyan girl, and a normal Kenyan parent, because I saw my mother selling tomatoes and onions in Kibra to educate us. I saw my father as a catechist in St. Michael's Otiende, teaching people values. And the same values that are very strong that my father passed on to me through catechism and my Catholic faith are the same values we need, which is the opposite of the current administration.
You've talked about the high taxation, for example, how bad the economy is doing. But talk to me about your plan to turn around the economy.
You even talk about the issue of fuel. The fuel is more expensive in Kenya than the region, while they're using our road network to do the fuel. So what I'm trying to say is that they are doing nothing about it. But there's a silver bullet on how to solve the problem by putting people to work. And I want to tell you with all honesty, when you see these guys thinking they can construct the railway, they can do the SGR, they can do the road, and they can do the housing, that is a non-priority. The real infrastructure, Evans, is to put people to work. That's the real infrastructure. Go to Europe, go to the Middle East, go to the Asian tigers. When people are not working, there's no infrastructure. And I want to separate these terms, the difference between infrastructure and superstructure. Superstructure is the thinking that makes you develop what? Infrastructure. If you build a big house, which is infrastructure, but you don't know whether people will be renting that house, or there will be food inside there, or there will be someone opening an office inside there, there is no thinking. But by thinking that if I build a 10-storied building, there will be X number of people renting here to offer these services, then you don't start by thinking about infrastructure as an end in itself. You have to think about what will that infrastructure do before you build the infrastructure. No one goes to build a house to own a house, but they look about the living, what they want to do inside the house. So let me give an example. Building housing is giving the end user, but not thinking about production. Because tell me, once you own a house, who else do you pass that house to? Nobody. But if you create jobs through large-scale agricultural production in the county level, what will happen is that somebody can sell avocado, somebody can sell those inputs, isn't it? Somebody can brand them, somebody can transport them, somebody can package them. But a house is the end user. You can't create a value chain with a house. But if you create production, primary production, when you go to secondary production, then you go to tertiary production, you are creating a value chain where this person creates jobs for the next. That's I'm telling you, the cause of causes, if you like Latin, causa causarum, is to do large-scale primary production to lead to secondary, then tertiary. But this guy is doing infrastructure because that is where corruption actually comes easy. You get money from somebody, you get kickbacks, you overprice this, what they call infrastructure, you make your money, then you move. That's not how it works.
All right. When you look at the Kenyan currency, from the year 2022 up to now, there is a steady improvement in terms of Kenyan currency, which is right now, we can say, 3 years down the line until now, there is quite a big margin in terms of improvement. So in that sector, do you think probably the government has done enough to make sure that they stabilize their currency?
Evans, there are some improvements that happen without you doing anything. You see, when you go to a school where kids are not so bright, by not being so bright, you can be number one. But let me explain to you why you are talking about improvement. Do you know one thing the Kenyan government has done to bring the improvement? Because we have to talk about the issue of cause effect. What have they done? Nothing. But what has the improvement taking place? The improvement has taken place because the dollar has depreciated for the last 4 years by an average of 15%. Go and check that data yourself. And if that is the case, have you seen the Kenya shillings appreciate against the Uganda shillings, Tanzanian shillings, Rwandese franc? How come those currencies appreciate against Kenya shillings, while the Kenya shillings can only appreciate against the dollar? It simply means that we are mismanaging the economy.
But Prof, it's fair to argue the reason why debt increases is because most of the time we don't meet the target. So for you to run a functional government, you must either borrow or source internally.
How many Kenyans live in this country who don't borrow and their budget does not make sense and they're living? Why do we want to think government is so special? You, in your income, do you have all the money you need? Sometimes you pass, you see issues, you just pass. Sometimes a child says, I want to tell him, Mommy, next month. Why for them it is now and it's life or death? Let me tell you, my brother, before we had money to be borrowed from abroad, Kenyans were surviving. Let's go back to the life. What was your grandparents borrowing? Those times, who was giving debt? And did people not survive? When there's one cow that has milk, others don't have. People shared that cow. Why are we looking like this government must borrow to spend? I'm telling you, we'll run this country like a household. You know, a head of state should not look at Kenya as one unit. We have 12,005,000 households. How do they run? For you and your family, do you have all the money? Even when someone is sick, you do a fundraising. Do you borrow where? How many Kenyans can qualify to borrow? But the government qualifies to borrow on you. So this thing of saying that borrowing must be done, I disagree. Right. I was an economist in the European Central Bank. Even some people are denied to borrow.
Okay. Now, we have very critical sectors like education, which is underfunded. We have healthcare. Now, talk to me about your proposals. How do you plan to fund this very critical sector that most of the times they have been either been underfunded or not given much attention that it deserves?
First of all, there is enough to fund education and to fund healthcare. But your typical politician wants to make you believe there is no money. But look at when they want to do something, they do it supersonic speed. Kindiki was announced at midnight to have been declared deputy president. By 10 a.m., they spent 250 million in installation, isn't it? Can you manage that yourself? You can't. So let us not lie that there's no money. When they want to do something, they do it with supersonic speed. When they don't want, they say there's no money. Let me tell you what, my brother, how much goes to education, and if you add education and healthcare together, it's not 1 trillion. But the budget is 4.9 trillion. As an economist, there's what you call fast charge. Fast charge means that when you collect money, where do you take that money first? As a husband, when you earn your salary, the first charge is pay children's school fees, pay rent, pay your debt if you need, isn't it? But for them, when they receive money, you hear somebody has a new chopper. You hear somebody has been allocated, I don't know, money to travel where. So with there's enough money to run this economy. With enough for everybody's need. We don't have enough for everybody's greed. So for being greedy, we don't have enough. Because their greed is bigger than Pacific Ocean, which is the largest ocean in the world. But for us, we just operate like Lake Victoria, isn't it? Or Lake Turkana. We can have enough. Let one cheat you that you don't have enough. I believe we have enough money if we can do priority spending. Also, we need to understand that the economy is choked by too much taxation. We have not enough foreign direct investment to come to the country to create jobs. It's just that the economic formula is wrong. You cannot use the wrong map to go to the wrong direction. If you want to go to Singapore, you cannot use the map going to Somalia. You cannot use a map that goes to Garissa. Their map is wrong. If you are waiting for them to arrive in Canaan, they will not. They don't have an idea of how to arrive in this, what they call Canaan. But Fred Ogola is telling you, with the silver bullet, creating jobs, priority spending, then secondly, cutting down on government expenditure, then not going to State House after being sworn in. State House is going to be a monument. State House will become a research center for professors to do research there. State House will become a research and development place for young people to do breakthrough in science, breakthrough in laboratory, breakthrough in healthcare. All these things we're putting on money is not necessary. Can you imagine with the Shah, we spend 101 billion and it's not working. The technology has been given to a foreigner to do. Yet Kenyans have no job. Do you know how much we spend on government fuel guzzlers? We have 1,850 fuel guzzlers, each of them being serviced in Toyota Kenya at a cost of 300,000 per 2 weeks, which means we are blowing money to non-priority expenditure. So what I'm trying to say is they like to tell you there's no money. Just like a husband who spends time in the bar tells the wife how broke they are. But in the bar, everybody gets their round. At home, everybody's eating nothing. So we just have a father who eats first, then asks whether kids have eaten. A leader should eat last. Everything, there's no transparency. If you go to chapter 6 of the Constitution, it's very clear about transparency, it's about accountability, it's about ethics. So the only thing remaining is to make Kenyans know the 4.9 trillion which Ruto wants to collect in 2026, 2027, what will it do? All the accountability system from county government to the national government, are procurement systems clear? Are they transparent? Digital assets using blockchain technology, which I want young people to really invest their time, and I'll put money on young people to develop them so that they can trace you. If you go to a county, someone is tendering to build a classroom, let us know who has tendered, how much have they tendered, and we shall see that one in a visual manner. When you make everything visible, nothing happens. Do you know why most sins happen at night? Because nothing is seen. But if daytime, people behave. So let Kenya be very transparent. Go to a country like Singapore, go to Japan, go to South Korea. Anything can be known by anybody.
All right.
And when that happens, all the liars, all the thieves will run away.
All right.
We never see night runners at night.
In your own opinion, why do you think we still struggle with corruption in this country, despite the fact that we have institutions to deal with such cases?
Evans will lack leadership. The day we shall have the right person in the head of state, or if you call it State House, that's the day the right thing being done. But because we have the wrong person in that office, there is no day it will be done. Let me take you here. When I become president, EACC will be disbanded by one signature. In fact, I've prepared 12 executive orders. From swearing in, I'll go sign them so that they can be executed, executive orders. EACC approves everybody, from MCA to senator, to governor, to MP, to PSS, to heads of parastatal. Even the president and deputy are passed by EACC. If they are the one passing these people, why do they again pretend to investigate them? So EACC must be disbanded with immediate effect because it is a washing machine for corruption. Anybody who is corrupt goes there, they are investigated, then they are again passed. It must cease to exist. They are talking about Singapore. Do you have EACC in Singapore? Do you have it in Japan? It's been put there to make you feel things are happening. Do you know why EACC is only 200 meters from State House? Because it's a washing machine that washes State House when they steal money. Anybody arrested, Evans, should go to the police station just like anybody else. Why should a governor who has stolen 2 billion go sit in EACC with a cup of tea in a sofa set being asked how they have stolen? Yet for you, even if they suspect you stole a chicken, you are locked in a cell. Why are some special Kenyans and some are not so special? There are no sacred cows. We have DCI. Investigate when you are in the cell. They tell you, oh, we can't prosecute. You don't want to prosecute. Why should you be put there when you can't do anything? So according to me, those institutions are there as smokescreens. Even if you want to ask me others, there are several others which are not independent, which cannot deliver. Go to IPRA. IPRA wakes up and adds fuel at will. IPRA was formed to lower the cost of energy. That's why they were formed. Nothing else. Go to their mandate. They can do their mandate, but you can give them a budget. Actually, they are adding cost of fuel because some levy goes to them. It's called fuel regulatory levy. They are adding the cost of fuel into the ecosystem. Without EACC, and I want to tell you, my brother, let me use data. EACC was formed in 2010. They have operated for 15 years. They have a budget of 3.9 billion per year. If you multiply by 15, that is 58.9 billion they have consumed, isn't it? But they have recovered only 18 billion in the process. So why do you run such an economy where you spend 58.9 billion to recover 18 billion? Yet we need to recover something like 7.6 trillion of theft. And I want to go direct. Under the first president, we lost 250 billion to corruption. The second president, in 10 years, we lost 1.2 trillion, and I have put that petition in Senate. The third president, that happens to be Kibaki, we lost 610 billion. The fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta, it was 608 billion. The current president, we have lost 3.7 trillion in corruption. When you add that together, that's the money we need to recover. How can you recover 28 billion in 15 years, yet you need to recover 7.6 trillion? So those institutions are irrelevant. They're just cost to Kenyans. We want you to produce what you are supposed to do. If you're a teacher, teach. If you're a professor, profess. If you're a prophet, prophesize. You cannot be there as a small screen, only appointed by people. And I don't like these things appointing bishops to chair these commissions. Mother Teresa was holy, but she was not made a central bank manager. She was preaching your faith. As a retired bishop, go and work on people's faith. Let us appoint professionals. And as president, we shall practice meritocracy, nothing like political patronage. And that's why I want Kenyans to appoint me so that I work for them, don't work for any other system.
What will make you different?
What makes me different is that I have values. They don't. What makes me different is that I'm a professional. Without anything else, if the current president is not president, what will he be doing? What did he do before? He was never a teacher. Moi was a teacher at least, isn't it? Kibaki was an economist before coming to government. For him, tell me what he did apart from politics. He began his first career as a politician, and he's going to end it as a politician. I am a professional. I've trained more than 1 million executives in Strathmore University. I have made 37 CEOs with my own coaching, mentoring, and those very CEOs can come and work in government to offer technocratical support. For them, their friends are politicians, looters, and thieves. So I want to be the shepherd of this country, the shepherd of the sheep.
All right. Professor Fred Ogola, thank you so much for making time.
Get ready to embark on a journey into the exciting world of technology as we uncover the latest trends, interview top thought leaders, and dive deep into the world of tech like never before.
Currently, we are facing the challenge in terms of finance. It requires one to move from different counties because we really need a large data set for our model to be more accurate.
In this new and exciting series of the Technovation Show, join me, Yvonne Kimuma, every Monday 8:30 p.m. for a fun and thrilling experience as we explore the cutting-edge developments, meet visionaries driving change.
Somebody who is in the underground mine doesn't know the presence of the. So there are a lot of gases involved. There is methane, there is carbon monoxide, and there's also hydrogen sulfide. These gases actually, they are very dangerous and they're very toxic.
And discover the endless possibilities of the tech world.
Miti miti, panda panda, miti miti. Our planet's future is in our hands. However, there is a threat to the brightness of this tomorrow. On EarthCheck, we share the challenges, the solutions, and the hope.
I would call this a very momentous day, a very critical day.
Every episode, every story, every step we take creates a ripple. Join me, the environmentalist Emmanuel Kutosi, on KUTV every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and be part of EarthCheck. Welcome.
Wanasema kula uhondo kwa taka matendo, na bila shaka matendo yake yakazaa uhondo. Bidii na panda shuka zake zikamfanya awe mwanga wa dunia.
Pauline Care ni mwalimu wa walimu. Nilijua nilikuwa ninataka kufanya kwa mochari.
Nilijitolea kimasomaso, nikasema manake nimeenda shule kama wenzangu wa kiume, nitafanya kazi kadri na uwezo wangu.
Inafika mahali ile game yenye umesema hiyo ndio unaenda kugive up na uachane na boxing ndio unapata WBC.
Fahamu mwanamke huyu kwa utendeti zaidi ukitazama kipindi cha Mwanamke Mwake Mwake. Kila Jumatano saa 2:30 usiku, ukiwa nami Caroline Kimwele.
Kila safari huanza kwa hatua moja. Bila shaka, dira ya Boresha Kilimo sasa imepata sura mpya. Boresha Kilimo si kipindi tu, bali ni darasa la vitendo kwa wakulima. Lengo kuu, mavuno bora na tija kwa jamii.
Na ukikaa nasi basi utaboresha kilimo.
Hapa tutakupakulia maarifa atakotia ladha ya kisukari kwenye mazao yako, tukitofautisha punje na mpunga.
Kwani kilimo ndicho huboresha maisha.
Kuanzia maandalizi ya shamba, mbinu za teknolojia ya kisasa hadi sokoni, usikose kutazama Boresha Kilimo.
Ukitaka kujua haya usipime kipimo.
Ungana nami na hodha wako Akida Kasim kila siku ya Jumamosi saa 6:30 mchana na Jumanne asubuhi, nikikuletea shajara kamili za wakulima na suluhisho mashinani.
Kilimo ni nguzo kubwa kwa ujenzi wa taifa, kwani kilimo ndicho huboresha maisha.
Kumbuka, ukipanda pantosha utavuna pankwisha.
fashion. It's more than just clothes. It's a statement, a feeling. An art form, a way to express yourself, a reflection of who you are. It's Fashion Diaries. Join me, Ashley Asachi, every Monday from 8 p.m. as we bring you Kenya's latest trends. Imagine fashion designers, glamorous fashion events, runway shows, red carpet events, and so much more. Fashion Diaries, unleashing your inner fashionista.
Welcome back, and we are seated. When we are seated, you know it's about to get down on very serious discussion. This morning I'm joined by a very able gentleman who are going to help us talk more about the state of the nation, and this is a newspaper review. I'm joined by two young leaders, young youth leaders, and one of them is the upcoming, or should I say the hopeful, Kawa West member of County Assembly, Ojwang Mariam, and we also have Thomas Sulubu, who is a youth leader right here in Kenyatta University. Allow me to have the guests introduce themselves to you. Let me begin with you, Ojwang.
Asante sana. Good morning, people of the world. Bado ndio mtoto wa Mariam, Kenya naye, lakini ukenya wake usiukenye. My community have been talking so much about my official name and how I should be publicizing it, that it is time the world knows that I was named Maina Wanya Kenya from the Mount Kenya region. I'm so glad and honored to talk about sustainability, to talk about youth empowerment, to talk about our role in community transformation when we are making Kenya a better country, especially as we are approaching 2027 campaigns and general elections. I'm a proud author at the moment, book, but it is already a manuscript that is being worked on by Tambua Creative Africa Group from Kenyatta University, who are the official publishers of the book named Believe, Become.
All right, Thomas.
Okay, asante sana. Pia mimi ni mmoja wao wenu katika interview ama majadiliano haya leo, nikiwa ni kiongozi katika muungano wa vuguvugu wa vijana kutoka Pwani. Nitakuwa nikichanganya ndimi kidogo, nimetoka kule sehemu za Pwani, kwa hivyo nitakuwa nikiongea Kiingereza, pia nitakuwa nikitumia lugha ya Kiswahili. So ni kiongozi wa eneo la Malindi katika muungano wa vuguvugu wa vijana uliopo hapa Kenyatta University, na nimeshukuru sana kwa mwaliko wenu wa majadiliano ama kuhoji magazeti. Yeah, asante sana.
Karibu sana Thomas.
Asante.
Kidogo Kiswahili si mdomo, lakini Anyways, we'll do the best we can. This is not a strict show that we have to use Swahili or we have to use English. You can also, any language that you feel it's comfortable with you addressing, or is it addressing? Yes, addressing Kenyans is the one that we are going to be using. Now, I'm looking at the newspapers that I'm having this morning. Today, we are going to be looking at the Daily Nation and, of course, the Standard. To set us off, a lot has been happening in the country, of course. let's just begin with what has been happening in the country. Yesterday we had was it yesterday or on Sunday where we had the Thika rally, Linda Mwananchi rally, and we had several new things that were upcoming in the country. We had the Murang'a governor joining the Linda Mwananchi and ditching UDA party. We also had, I heard someone saying that they were squeezing themselves on top of vehicles, the likes of, is it Pauline, this deputy organizing secretary of Jubilee Party.
Pauline Njoroge.
Yes, Pauline Njoroge. I saw that someone was saying that they were squeezing themselves out of the vehicles. We had them coming up yesterday. I want to get your sentiments on what you think of this Linda Mwananchi, because they say that uprisings or movements do not translate into votes. For example, here in Kenya, we were supporting, we have very big fans of Traore. We're also big fans of Bobi Wine. We're also big fans, of these leaders. But then we are not able to vote in those countries. So we are just supporting them. It's a movement. The same way with what is happening in the country. Some argue that Sifuna is reluctant in forming structures within the Linda Mwananchi. It is not a party, so definitely it does not have rules or how you can punish, how you can, enforce laws within that movement. And they were arguing that without structures, it is difficult to transform movements into votes. So despite us seeing this shift, leaders moving from the opposition to Linda Mwananchi, we had Faith Odhiambo also was squeezing herself up of that vehicle. Despite all these prominent leaders coming up and joining the Linda Mwananchi, it still does not have structures. What do you think of Linda Mwananchi and the way it is moving forward? Can this really translate into votes? Can this really lead into something meaningful, or it will just end with being an irrelevant movement that we talk of, that is written in history?
First of all, I want to thank God that I'm privileged to be in world of communication, because in world of communication I get to interact firsthand with the narratives that keep coming into our country, how they develop and how they die if they die, and how they become impactful if they become impactful. And I will not take you so far away in terms of years. I want to start at 202. At 202 we have a slogan, and the slogan is unbuogable. Unbuogable was being proposed by Gidi Gidi and Maji Maji in their song, Who Can Buoga Me? I say, who can buoga me? And that unbuogable was able to be translated into votes using the Rainbow Coalition in 202. In 207, in 205, we had the Chungwa coming on so strong against a banana. Today, no one talks about a banana, but we have Orange Democratic Movement. From slogan to a party, a very big party. It has enjoyed 20 years, because right now you cannot tell me the ODM. It has enjoyed 20 years of being impactful. Ask me why. Because impact of a party sometimes is based on, did this party bring to us a president? If it does, it falls on two lines. One, the party has served its purpose, and two, it will not go beyond 5 years. That is why ODM has been always, it is impactful because its party leader has not gained what they call relevance, and the relevance to die. Come to 2022, we have hustler, narrative versus dynasty. Those who are using it were able to convert the wave, the energy, the hustler energy, to giving one person chief hustler. That chief hustler is the current president of this nation. We move on to 2024, not even 2024. 2023, we are having heavy protests against economic crimes, against economic sabotage. Nawalita maandamano ya sufuria. Around that time, we were having a name that was riding energy. It was Zakayo. And we were saying, Zakayo lazima ashuke. Zakayo tutapatana. Those kind of things. What happened? That boiled and boiled and boiled, and in 2024 the name Zakayo had changed all the way to Kasongo, and something else came. that we do not want this finance bill. It was first a wave online. Vijana ndo wanasukuma, inaenda hivi inafika mahali ina serve purpose na inaenda kaina die. We've had Alan Zademba and the group coming up now with the initiative. It was a wave yenye ilikuwa imechanganya mpaka wazee hawajui wako kadi side ya huku kwa karata ama wako kadi side huku kwa yellow card na red card, but something came out from that wave. 2.5 1.5 new registered voters, then we went to 2.5 new registered voters who are youths. Saizi wave ya tuko kadi imeshuka kido, but we are having another wave that came from a party splitting. This ODM was splitting, and those who are said to be lindering their stomachs were called Linda grounds, and those others who are lindering the people were called Linda Mwananchi. And we had now all these are 2 ODM functions. At the moment, every Kenyan is appreciating that Linda Mwananchi is more than ODM. Linda Mwananchi has not yet been registered anywhere as a party. It is a wave that is bringing together, you'll see, like in Thika, we had people from DCP, we had people from Jubilee, we had people from all this Mount Kenya, and those who are decamping from UDA. It does not mean they joined the Linda Mwananchi. It meant they are in support of it. When I was listening to the current governor for Murang'a, Irongo Kang'ata, HE, he was talking about talking to Sifuna, talking to Babu Owino, talking to Orengo to go and meet Rigathi Gachagua so that they can have more base, a base that is expected to bear fruits only in 2027. The question of whether that vibrance of a slogan can actually send President Ruto home is a point of wait and see, because the youths are saying this is their first time and others their last time of giving democracy a chance. Democracy must be respected because it gives the minority a right to have their say, but it ensures the majority have their way. At the moment, the minority, I would say, are the ones in government, judging by the people who are in government and are not in government now. So we are having a silent majority. And this silent majority, their voice will only be heard at the ballot by winning. But we, the youth, keep saying and keep insisting, it is our time. So pale hivyo at the hem, tulikuwa tunasema tunatafuta kijana. At the hem, right now we are rallying behind Sifuna because of integrity. But we are saying, wazee nao wanasema wako na mipango yao, that wanaweka Kalonzo. It is a matter of wait and see. Sisi vijana tuko 70%. It is us who are supposed to be listened first. And then wazee wenye wako 30% wana come in kama sustainable partners to ensure that Kenya has been saved from graft, from disease, from poverty, and from a collapsing education system. If we keep rallying behind people like Sifuna, then we could see Linda Mwananchi being a question next year. Or it could also die and something else come up. Tuko 70%, tuko na energy, resources kwa pesa kidogo ndo hatuna, lakini tuko na time ya kusumbua mpaka slogans zetu ziski. Mimi naingia na moja kubwa, inaitwa Believe Become. It has been edged on a book that I have given my personal life since before I was born, on Monday 9:30 a.m. 25th January 1993, as a person with a disability, as a son from the ghetto, and beating all odds. Odds zenye zilikuwa zimekataa kiasi 2010 when I was Form 3 and I had to go back to primary school standard 7 to continue my resilience journey. And today I'm proud to say that I'm a sustainable community champion made by Kenyatta University and currently serving shining hope for communities. I believe whatever I want in my mind, I can become. I believe become is a slogan. By next year, itakuwa kubwa sana in my life and in your life, I'm sure.
All right. Fair arguments. Thomas, what do you make of Linda Mwananchi and their campaigns in the country?
Okay, thanks, madam. First of all, Linda Mwananchi.
Please use your mic.
All right. Okay. Yeah, asante sana. Linda Mwananchi ni kikundi ama ni chama ama movement yenye imekuja wakati nchi ilikuwa kwenye hali ya masikitiko, kama tuseme hali ya kuwa after kumpoteza kiongozi Raila Odinga. True. So after Raila Odinga kupotea ama kuaga, then a lot of things happened. So including we witnessed a lot of defections from people moving from one side to the other side. So Linda Mwananchi is as a result of the youth. Is more concerned about the youth issues or affairs. Ukiangalia kwa umakini uongozi wa Linda Mwananchi, ukimwangalia Edwin Sifuna na impact yake ama popularity yake, Babu Owino na viongozi wengine kina ni wengi Babu Owino, Edwin Sifuna na wengine. So my take on that is tumekuwa tukizoea kuwa large crowds does not guarantee or necessarily guarantee to translate to votes, but this time round kama mmekuwa more keen how youth are very active in matters of politics and governance, it must tell you that there's something that is happening. So we always hope for the best and for the what can I call it, ile uchangamfu. Nimesema nitakuwa blend lugha. So ile uchangamfu vijana wamekuwa nayo tokea Linda Mwananchi kuwe ikionekana kwa mambo na hiyo niko kadi slogan plus hizi other events zenye zimekuwa happen, zinajaribu kukuambia kuwa okay, hata kama tumekuwa tukiona mikusanyiko mikubwa lakini haikui translated to votes, but this time round ni kama kutakuwa na impact.
Hapo kwa impact ndio na shida nayo kivipi? Kwa sababu ukiangalia for parties, yes, kuna sheria ambazo govern parties. For example, you cannot be nominated to a seat if you've not been in the party for less than 3 months.
Yes.
So unaona hiyo inafanya mtu akiwa kwenye chama hizi amka tu siku moja na sema sasa mimi nimeacha Linda Mwananchi nimeenda UDA. Alafu vile vile unapata kwamba ukiwa na chama kuna structures like you have grassroots mobilizations ambao unajua kwamba kuna mtu ambaye akona Vakolo constituency anatafuta wapigaji kura, anafanya mobilizations nyumba hadi nyumba, anafanya mobilizations. Lakini ambayo tunaona ya Linda Mwananchi ni kwamba wanatoka tu mahali wanaenda wanafanya rally. Alafu unajua Kenya ni nchi ambayo mara nyingi tunafuata trends, tunafuata hiyo hype.
Yes.
Ni kama ukiwasha moto mahali,
yeah,
Wakenya watakuja. Ukisikia nduru mahali, Wakenya wanakuja. So ni the same thing. You're not sure if
yes,
hawa watu ambao wanaenda kwenye hizi rallies, wameenda kwenye rally kwa sababu wanataka kumuona Sifuna, ama wameenda kwenye rally kwa sababu wanampenda Sifuna, kwa sababu si ati wameregister kwa chama utajua sisi chama chetu kina wafuasi this number.
Yes,
so
yeah,
will it really stand the test of time when it comes to translating into votes?
Okay, asanti. Kuhusu hilo unajua changamoto za Wakenya sahii zimejulikana na kila kijana ama kila Mkenya anapitia changamoto. So it's not a matter of kwenda kwa rally kusikiza ama kwenda kumsikiza mwingine, but what will make you vote or do the right decision during the voting process is your own problems and your own issues. Like, let me say this. Kwa mfano, Sifuna na Linda Mwananchi, they are in the process of testing the waters. You cannot just register a new party or just make a political maybe decision without gaining momentum or just testing maybe the ground, what the ground says. So kina Sifuna na Babu Owino na Linda Mwananchi in general wanajaribu kutembea nchi, wajaribu kuangalia je, wananchi wako nasemaje, are they in the government or are they opposing, what are they really saying? Unasikia? So hiyo inajaribu pia kuelekeza kina Sifuna na Linda Mwananchi kuwa okay, this is the right decision to do. If it's maybe to register a new political party, they will, and they will gain a lot of members in short time period.
All right, fair argument. Ujua
Yes,
Ulinijibu swali kweli. Will they stand the test of time?
Nilikujibu nikakwambia standing the test of time lies on us the youth if they will give us Sifuna mahali pale juu mahali tunataka for that Linda Mwananchi to continue being relevant. If they won't give him, then inamaanisha tunarudi huko kwenye tu tulikuwa kila mtu kwa nyumba yake. Because Linda Mwananchi currently is a slogan that is being proposed by people from ODM. Every other time Sifuna anasema mimi ndio Sifuna, he keeps reminding them the date, the place they are in, and that he stands there as SGODM, not Linda Mwananchi, ODM. So we the youth, watu ambao tunapenda hype, tunapenda hizi narratives na vile ambavyo tunaweza zitumia for sustainability, are the people who will say if Linda Mwananchi will show impact 2027. But we've also given examples of how other narratives in the past were able to be converted into impact on a general election.
Acha tuzungumze maswala ya Adani, not Adani. Sasa tunazungumzia Chivayo. And from Adani now we are talking of Chivayo, and they're talking of 275 billion deal. It is Chivayo. That's a story that is given prominence on the Standard. And they're talking of this agreement. Of course, the tender, it was a competitive competition to get the tenders. And what really took my eye was the Kenyan government is to contribute 1.3 billion to the project, with the remainder financed through local and Chinese banks, while the expansion will add capacity of 15 million passengers annually through the construction of the new terminal, with a new runway planned for a completion by 2029, set to lift at airfield capacity from 14 to 63 aircraft movements per hour. That is a very good vision for the country. A very great one. In fact, it will boost tourism, it will boost trade, it will boost, very many things. Kenya will be a spark, let me just say a spark when it comes to international travels. But the problem is questions that a Kenyan citizen will ask. What is the criteria of awarding these tenders? Because all these people we are seeing being awarded the tenders are controversial people. Adani had problems with this country. We had problems with the contract. The same thing happening here, and in fact the Standard have listed Chivayo's legal troubles, a timeline 2004, convicted of theft by false pretense involving 837,000 I think that is rand, and we have 2015 Intertrack Zimbabwe, a company linked to Wicknell Chivayo, awarded 172 million US dollars contract to build 100 megawatt solar power plant in Rwanda. So there's a list of the legal troubles that is undergone from 2004 to 2026. And 2026 still, he challenges the court order as political controversy grows. His appearance at a meeting attended by Zimbabwean president and South African president. So he is a man revolving around courts. Are we moving to the right direction when it comes to awarding tenders of mega projects in the country, John?
Chivayo is an all-rounded man, and not only physically. I mean also in terms of networks and connection to presidents, especially in Africa. It's a plus for him. Yeah, we are now examining it. It's a plus for us as Kenyans. We recently talked of Adani and the Adani deal and how it was dehumanizing us as a people, dehumanizing us as culture, dehumanizing us as inheritors of our heritage. Because the moment you are taking our airport for 30 years, it means 30 years from now,
most of us won't be there.
Exactly. There are few things we should always look into when we are awarding tenders to international people, especially now at a time when people are being awarded passports and IDs in our country, but ourselves, the sons, the daughters of people who fought for this country, bado tunaenda huko Huduma Center tunaambiwa kale kama machine ka kuprint ya kako, but hizo IDs zinapatikana Moyale na Mogadishu. We have to look at article number 10. It talks about the national values and principles of governance. Natumia hii katiba nilipewa na Boni kutoka kwa Mauraia Trust. We also need to ensure that in article 201 we are following the principles of public finance. Because sisi ndio hata wakitumia pesa za madeni, sisi ndio tutalipa kama Wakenya. It doesn't matter ni miaka ngapi, but each and every president mwenye atakuwa akikuja atakuwa ganajipata ako na jukumu la kulipa deni fulani, deni hii kukusaidia, deni hii kusaidia Thomas, deni ilikuliwa tu. It's what watu kama kina wa Jimmy Wanjigi through Safina Party keep calling odious debt. Hizo odious debt bado pata tunalipa. Article ingine muhimu ambayo tunafaa kuangalia ni article 227 that talks about the principles of public procurement, so that it is not only Chivayo in this country who has the capability ya kutusaidia sisi kutengeneza JKA vile tunataka. In fact, yeye anatoka Zimbabwe, wametengeneza airport ngapi noma kwao. But as we said, he's an all-rounded man, afanyagi kazi kwao. Anaingiaga country, apewe passport, anakuwa huko kiasi. Currently, he has a passport of Kenya and he's going to other countries as a Kenyan citizen. So, Chinese wanakuja through back door, and this time back door is Zimbabwe. The deal that Wicknell Chivayo is getting, he's getting in partnership with something they are calling a Chinese consortium. Chinese bado ndo wako SGR. Chinese ndo bado ndo walitumika superhighway sana. In fact, hata chenye tunafaa kujua saizi na kuensure ni ati tunajua hii kandarasi inasema nini na ni jukumu la kila Mkenya. You know, we as Kenyans, especially us wenye utoka ghetto, tukisikia billion tunatetemekaga kidogo na tunasema ituhusu. Right now we are talking about 375 billion, and that contract is not only binding to them, those who are with money, but also to us, and not only us, even our children. Kwa sababu unapata hii deal inaenda over 30 years. The Law Society of Kenya is talking about Article 10 national values. Every deal must be open, every deal must be transparent, and every deal must be accountable to the people of Kenya, whose all sovereign power belongs to them. Ni kachunk tu tunagawa tunape gava. Kadogo kamegawiwa kamepewa Rais Ruto. Ndo manzia tufikirie sisi kwanza kwa kila deal anapiga. Uacha kujifikiria wewe kwanza. Hakuna vile unaweza tuambia tulete Ebola juu tunapewa 17 billion. Hakuna venye unaweza tuambia deal kama hii noma. Hakuna mtu huko Kenya anaweza tusaidia ku actualize, apart from people who have criminal challenges in different countries, especially in Africa. Tukue vigilant sisi wenyewe, tuelewe. Tukishaelewa, then we'll be able to lend a voice. A voice is enough to change things in this country.
All right, Thomas.
Okay. As a patriotic Kenyans, we can never be anti-development for infrastructural development or any kind of development. So, the question we ask, or the doubt we have is, is there anything behind the deal? Like here deal ya JKA, cause I remember is very recent kulikuwa na hiyo deal ya Adan, but it collapsed juu ya scandals zenye ilikuwa imegundulika ama imetambulika kuwa Adan alikuwa amecommit kwa other countries including United States. So kwa hii ya Chivayo of Adan, not Adan but rather JKA, so is there anything behind it so that hiyo 375 billion ikuwa inakuja na conditions gani? Kuna conditions gani? Then number 2, as long as we demand or we all love development, infrastructural development, but at times like this where there is maybe a lot of crisis, is an airport a priority? Maybe according to me, I can maybe suggest that we should first look for the priorities rather than maybe taking developing some zenye si priorities. Yeah.
All right. So you feel like having expansion of the airport may not be a priority for Kenyans right now?
Not necessarily kwa si mzuri, but kama kuna priority ingine, kwa mfano tuseme kuna challenge maybe ya issue ya the education of students, hizo crisis zinaendelea currently, plus maybe issue na mafuta, plus maybe the economic So JKA si kwa ni mbaya, ni mzuri, lakini pia the deal, if the deal can be transparent and maybe there is enough public participation so that the citizens or the wananchi waelewe zaidi the conditions wenye wanapewa hiyo 375 billion na plus how should they repay.
What's your bone of contention here? Ni kwamba JKIA imekuja ikiwa na tukiwa na other priorities kama education, health, nini yes. Ama JKIA unazungumzia the 375 billion, is that the issue you have with, ama is it that the deal is not clear to the country? What do you have a problem with?
I think if all should be considered, then priority first. But even if the priority has been given out, maybe it has been followed, but pia tutaangalia the legality of the deal after priority, though according to me priority first. But maybe if we have maybe a funds allocated for the other sectors like maybe health, education and the other like your energy sector, after they have all been satisfied, then we will go to the legality or the correctness or hiyo usawa wa hiyo deal. Yeah, according to me inafaa tuangalie priority kwanza, but kama priority imekuwa satisfied, then ndo tuingie kwa hiyo deal zaidi sasa.
John, you have something to add?
Yeah, something to add, because I feel, Thomas, I feel people from Pwani, and I feel their relationship to this deal or how they are relating to the deal. I had talked about Article 10 on national values and principles of governance and how it is important for it to be checked in the 375 billion deal. Because if we invoke Article 10, then we will have heightened public participation where communities in Kenya are understanding why are we prioritizing JKIA when in your place, especially like in their place, they don't have schools, they don't have roads, they don't have medical facilities. So when they are saying it's like a misplaced priorities, what the people of Pwani really mean is, manze, sisi kuna wenye wako 40 huko hawajawahi fika Nairobi JKIA. So ana feel kwake manze priority ni kwanza wajengewe shule, ni kwanza wajengewe hospitali, ni kwamba wajengewe barabara na wapewe maji. You know, Pwani is full of water, but it's salty water. When it comes to drinking water that is basic for each and every human being, it's still a rare commodity. Wanasema yamedimika kuliko maziwa ya ngamia. Yet it is in a place where we have bahari. So when he is talking about misplaced priorities, what he really means is we have to have public participation, explain to all Kenyans the JKIA, the deal, the importance of the deal, and the contracts that are discussed in this deal. Remember, the Adani deal was a deal that was kept under the table, but it was selling us to the Indians for 35 years. Right now, we just know of 375 billion deal. We do not know how at 375 billion injecting it into Kenya economy. What are they getting from us? Hiyo bado iko hapo hivyo kwa principle of national value and principles of governance. And then ndio tutoke hapo hivyo tungie kwa hiyo article nilikuwa nimesema article 201. Article 201 inaongea kuhusu principles of public finance. Hawa wase wa Pwani hapo ndo wanasema what can we do with 375 billion? Wanakosa ku understand that hatusemi Kenya inapeana 375 billion. Tunasema Kenya inaletewa 375 billion. Then tuingie kwa hiyo article nyingine ito 227. Article 227 inaongea kuhusu how are we doing public procurement so that deal kama hii inaweza bado faidi watu wa Pwani wengi. Aje that hii deal tuseme ipewe Mkenya, huyu Mkenya aingie Pwani, aingie Lake Region, aingie huko, alete vijana wakuje wafanye kazi hii yenye tunasema hii 75 billion itakuwa ikifa. Si bado hao watu watakuwa wamefeel the development. That is what they are talking about. Ni vile tushazoea maneno mengi sana. But hii katiba inakuwa game to simplify hizo vitu zote. Ndio tusikuage na kitu inaitwa monopoly of knowledge. Kama hiyo yenye serikali ya sasa inataka kutuonyesha that we really don't know, and because we really don't know they do kivyao. You had CS for Health Adan Duale akisema walai kanchit kandaya kuna mahali tutaongelea kuhusu Ebola na itakuja. As we speak kule hivyo upande wa Laikipia it is being set up. Watu wenye tulikuwa tunasema wa Ebola wengine hadi walishafika. Sisi watu wa Roysambu we are decrying that pale hivyo Muthaiga we already saw a Turkish individual mwenye hadi alikuwa anapiga wale watu, anawaambia mnajua nini nyinyi wa Afrika mwezi niambia kitu, so mimi nataka nitoke hapa. He was fighting to get out of a quarantine zone na akona all symptoms and signs of Ebola. We need to do better by championing for this constitution as a youth.
That's an interesting story that you've brought up. And now that you're on that bit, the Daily Nation is saying that court orders don't matter to them. They've mentioned the Health CS, Treasury CS, Attorney General, Defense Principal Secretary, we have Forestry PS, and also the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja. All these people have received orders by the court, but it looks like it does not really apply to them. And the Daily Nation is saying the government's commitment to the rule of law has been questioned, with most state officers, including cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries, facing contempt proceedings for defiance of court orders in matters of immense public interest. Critics argue the trend is disregarding decrees. The trend of disregarding decrees that those in authority find a nuisance is setting a dangerous precedent and risk-taking the country down a slippery path to anarchy. Let me get your sentiments on the same story on the Daily Nation.
Okay, asante sana. So ni masikitiko ama ni hali ya kusikitisha kama as a country tutakuwa we get used to the big fish or the big political leaders defying the law. Like ni ile tunasema kwa boma, kwa mfano kwa boma, acha nilete muktadha wa kwa boma. Kwa boma mzee nde ana haribu ama anaenda kinyume na sheria ama na taratibu za boma. So what does that picture maybe portrays to the children? Like kama mzee anafanya vitu kinyume na sheria za boma, tunatarajia watoto wafanye aje? Hiyo inatuambia kuwa kama mawaziri na wa viongozi wakuu wa serikali watakuwa hawaheshimu maagizo ya koti, basi kama taifa tunaelekea pabaya, sababu sioni kama kutakuwa na wakati wa kuwa tumezoea, we used to, yani sheria haifuatwi like nadhani tutakuwa tunaelekea pabaya. Zaidi ya hapo tukielekea uchaguzi, mwaka ujao kuna uchaguzi mkuu. So taifa likijiandaa kuelekea kwenye uchaguzi mkuu na hakuna sheria inafuatiliwa yoyote, like it is just there, koti kisimamishe kisema okay, hapo imenti msimamishe hiyo ujenzi wa state lodge, they just go on, wanaendelea. Wakisema Ebola facility isimamishwe, wanaendelea. Wakisema kitu fulani nini, inaendelea. So nadhani itakuwa inaleta picha kwa hata mayouth au vijana wadogo kuwa okay, rules there like ziko tu, lakini they are just nonsense, hazifanyi kazi. So nadhani itakuwa hiyo inajaribu kujenga ni mbaya, attitude mbaya kwa vijana wadogo wenye bado wanaangalia viongozi. Unajua kama tulipokuwa wadogo tuliambiwa tunaangalia viongozi like ni kama wao ndo role models. So kama tutakuwa tumezoea kuwa watu hawafuatilii sheria, kina Duale kina hao wengine wote, then nadhani itakuwa tunaelekea pabaya kama taifa.
Do you think this is contributing to lawlessness in terms of kuwa na goons wanaitwaje kwa Kiswahili? Wahuni. Kuwa na wahuni nchini, because wamekuwa wengi na wanazidi kuongezeka every now and then, especially now that tunaelekea katika uchaguzi wa 2027.
Okay, hiyo inachangia moja kwa moja. Kwa sababu gani? Kwa mfano Inspector General of Police akipewa court order maybe ya ku do certain thing or to then Inspector General of Police maybe choose to ignore. Akiambiwa maybe kuna certain, kwa mfano ile All Saints Cathedral invasion yenye walikuwa invaded na magunzi. Then kuna jana kama nikiwa naangalia runinga Citizen, niliona mmoja akihojiwa akisema it was planned by a sitting area MP of Nairobi. So na wakasema it was facilitated by a plainclothes police, meaning ni vitu zenye zinafanyika by the state. Sasa according to me, my take on this is hii tukielekea uchaguzi nadhani ni hatari. Kwa sababu gani? Hawa goons tunawalea, na tuseme tunawalea kama taifa, then election comes, then it goes. Kwa mfano uchaguzi umekuja mwaka ujao na umesha, na mlikuwa maybe tuko na almost 2 million goons. Where will they go? Na hamna kazi nao tena. So I think ukificha Waswahili kusema ukificha fisi, then the moment hiyo challenge imetoka, then huenda akamla mwanao, akamrudia mwanao akamla. So pia hawa goons, hao goon masters wajue hata kama wanaendelea kutumia the strategy of using goons na wahuni to suppress maybe their political rivals, then wajue kuna wakati utafikia watakuwa wamemalizana nao, kwa sababu maybe uchaguzi umesha na hawa wamewatrain, wamekuwa wahuni, wamezoea kuwalipa na hawana kazi tena. So huenda wakakuja wakuwa threats to them. Yeah.
All right. Now, Joel, are we heading to is the country heading to a place of lawlessness, ama ni sisi tu tuna exaggerate mambo nchini?
Tumekuwa hapo hivyo kwa state of lawlessness for a very long time. But what I would say is I don't think if we are learning from these things. Katika gazeti ya jana, yule ambaye alikuwa analia ni Chief Justice of this country. Chief Justice mwenye anafaa kutuletea justice kwa inchi. And the question she was asking yesterday is, she has never been okay with how during protests, it's a few politicians, but they create disturbance in a whole country. Today, 16th June 2026, the people who are on the newspaper are now these politicians who have defied court orders on things that are important not only to the judiciary, not only to the National Assembly, but to us as the larger population. For example, for Attorney General, who is supposed to be government advisor, and the CS Health, kesi ama mrundiko wa kesi ambao unawafuata kotini ni kuhusu Ebola na kutengenezwa kwa facility ya Ebola hapa hivi kinyume na sheria ambayo ilikuwa imewekwa na court order. Other people there is people like a young PS Imenti mwenye anasema forest yao manze it's time iishe waeke airstrip. Airstrip ni development moja bigi sana, but hii katiba ina ensure that through community participation we get to draw a clear line between conservation and development, so that we are not finishing all our land because of development. But we know this development haijaletwa ikiwa development, imeletwa ikiwa mradi wa watu waweze kunyakua mashamba. We have seen it in Karura Forest, we are now seeing it in Imenti. Nani wengine wenye wako hapa hivi? Ni watu ambao kesi zao zinahusu security ya hii nchi. That kuna watu ambao wako na swali jibu kuhusu jinsi ambavyo watu ambao ni wahuni wanapata passports hapa nchini Kenya, lakini hawafuatili. Ingia ndani uone what is making all these people powerful according to perception. Wanasiasa wanaamini wako na guns. Guns, watu wa pwani leo wamewaita wahuni. But those wahuni, I'm telling you, tomorrow it could be me, I'm huni. So unaangalia sura yangu ni ya ghetto. It could be this guy, I'm huni, because watu wanasema the enemy is poverty. What these leaders keeps forgetting is that, and I'm sorry to say this, there is a political leader who thrived on guns, and on his final day, it is recorded in all police recordings na kesi ikifuatiliwa that guns ndo walimwangamiza. I'm talking about Ongondo Charles Were. So these people are us. They are us, the youth. And they keep saying, we are not owned by anyone. Juu leo utachukua gun, umlipe pesa fulani. Kesho, huyo atachukua same gun. We have seen it in Olkalao. Watu wanaingia leo kwa kampeni ya UDA, wanapewa mpaka mattress, vitu mingi sana. After 3 hours, wamechoma branding hizo za UDA, wamebaki na mattress wapeleke Kejani, but washavaa t-shirt za green. Wako kwa nini ya DCP. Hizi vitu ziko bound kuendelea until no one will be afraid of a goon in this country, because our goon wakitumwa ku disrupt peace, who is really disrupted? It is us.
Yeah.
Angalia katika kanisa la ACK pale Holy Family Basilica, wakiambiwa All Saints Cathedral, ndio ya ACK, wakiambiwa that tumekataa ACK sijui kujiinvolve na siasa, so tutakuwa tukituma goons. Now politicians are sending goons to the house of God. What will happen? Huyu kijana mwenye yako hapa hivi kwa kamera will not be staying, akiona huyu ni guna anakuja, atakuja kupiga, atajihami. I remember a day tukienda maandamano, it is all over, juu tulikuwa tunaenda kukava maandamano. And tukiwa pale hivyo Globe tunaona maguns kwa ile side nyingine, inasemekana ni magun wa Sakaja na hatutaingia dao. Mom, we went and we confronted them. Guze. Gun kijana kama wewe akugu. So ikifika hapo mahali kila mtu wako hivyo, si then inamaanisha tumeshaenda the hate way.
Yeah.
Tumeenda the hate way. Kwa nini na 2022 tulichagua mtu kama rais? It should be his mandate to ensure that he is bringing national cohesion, a peace, and to ensure that we are thriving in harmony. Peace ikikosekana hii nchi, shida ni rais. Usichochwe ati ni sisi. Shida ni rais. Rais anataka tu treat kama tuko prison sote. Lakini tuko kwa nchi yenye sisi ndio tunachaguana.
Yes. All right. I think we should be ending on that note, because I'm being told muda utoshi.
Napenda.
I remember committee, I think it's the head of committee who said that prison ni yenyu, ndio kwa ajili yenyu. So in as much as we are complaining of lawlessness and all this, prison ni yetu. So that brings us to the end of newspaper review this morning and the end of Biashara Tuesday on the 16th day of June 2026. My name is Anyango. Sylvia, thank you so much for choosing us on this to grace your morning this morning. Until next time, it's bye from us.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio,